Chapter 36. This time, the beasts had the upper hand, so there was no need for them to confront each other. They immediately attacked. The flaming lion took the lead and rushed to the front. Wang Shi used the same trick again. A water dragon flew out and met the flaming lion. The flaming lion spat out a fireball the size of a human head, which was scattered by the water dragon's claw. The flames scattered, but the water dragon was agile and avoided all the flames. After a while, the water dragon and the flaming lion were fighting in close quarters. The flaming lion was covered in a layer of flames. Every time it came into contact with the water dragon, it would emit a white mist. The water dragon and the flames would consume some of it, but Wang Shui and the flaming lion would replenish it with their spiritual energy. The man and the beast were locked in battle. The battle had become a war of attrition. It was a battle of who had more spiritual energy. Wang Daoyuan did not like to just watch. He took out 3 rain-dissolving talismans and threw them out. A black cloud appeared out of nowhere in the sky above the blazing lion's head. Soon, it began to rain heavily. Under the heavy rain, the water dragon's power increased slightly, but not by much. The flaming lion was in a worse situation. The flames on its body were constantly being weakened by the rain. It could only increase its spiritual energy output to barely keep the flames burning. The consumption of spiritual energy increased greatly. As a result, Wang Shui gained the upper hand in the originally evenly matched battle. The flaming lion wanted to escape from the black cloud, but Wang Shui would not let it do so. The water dragon entangled the flaming lion tightly, making it difficult for it to move. The dragon and the lion were entangled. Spells could not be used, so they could only fight with their claws and teeth. Wang Daoyuan's maneuver had arranged the flaming lion so well that it attracted the admiration of everyone present. The Li family patriarch, Li Xinghe, actually taught the young people of the family on the spot. He praised Wang Daoyuan for his quick wit, his ability to grasp opportunities, and his ability to use the resources in his hands to make greater use of them. He also called on the young disciples of the Li family to learn from comrade Wang Daoyuan. The other beasts were not idle. The 9 beasts rushed towards the other 9 people of the Wang family. Soon, the beasts collided with the 7 meat shields. Wang Daoxing was facing a monkey. This monkey was slightly smaller than a human. It didn't have the exaggerated muscles of ape-type demonic beasts, but it was extremely agile. The monkey's entire body was covered in white fur, but its 2 eyes were golden. This was an extremely rare golden-eyed spirit monkey. Its pair of golden eyes had extremely good eyesight, and it also had the ability to break through illusions. Concealment, disguise, and earth escape were all useless under the golden eye. These monster beasts advanced and retreated in a measured manner. It was obvious that someone or a high-level monster beast was controlling them from behind. There might be some twists and turns in the battle to exterminate the monster beasts. If he did not get rid of this spirit monkey, he would die in the hands of this monkey if he needed to escape through the earth. Wang Daoxing brandished the gigantic mace towards the spirit monkey. It was a pity that the spirit monkey was too agile. The mace flew up and down but could not even touch the spirit monkey's fur. Wang Daoxing was a body cultivator, and his physical strength was far stronger than ordinary cultivators. Coupled with the giant spiked club, even a turtle-type spirit beast would be injured after receiving a blow from him. However, with great power came great consumption. If he could not hit the spirit monkey, his stamina would be depleted in no time. He wanted to fight other demonic beasts, but this spirit monkey was sneakily attacking him. He had no choice but to turn around and fight with the spirit monkey. It was already good enough that the 6 granduncles could barely hold on with the help of the golden armor talisman against 8 demonic beasts that were more powerful than them. It was not possible for them to lend a helping hand. The Wang family was already weaker than the demonic beasts. If one of them was exhausted, they would not be able to fight anymore. Wang Daoyuan naturally would not allow such a situation to happen. He took out a talisman from the stack in his hands and activated the Dharma spell in the talisman. Hundreds of grape-sized fireballs appeared out of thin air in front of Wang Daoyuan. Subsequently, the fireballs flew towards the spirit monkey. This was the level 1 Dharma spell. Fire Rain spell. The fireballs flew at an extremely fast speed and there were many of them. They were densely packed like raindrops. The Fire Rain spell was fast and covered a large area. However, its lethality was extremely low. It was not very useful against most demonic beasts. However, it was very effective against demonic beasts like the spirit monkey that could not withstand beatings and relied on its agility to survive. No matter how agile the spirit monkey was, it could not dodge all of the hundreds of small fireballs. As long as the fireballs hit its body, it would definitely be injured and its agility would be affected. As long as its agility was affected, the spirit monkey's specialty would be gone. By then, wouldn't it be at the mercy of others? The spirit monkey also knew that if it was hit by these small fireballs, it would definitely die. Hence, it exerted all its strength to dodge the small fireballs. With its golden eyes and agility, it managed to dodge more than half of the fireballs. Wang Daoxing would not let it off so easily. While it was concentrating on dodging the fireballs, Wang Daoxing took the opportunity to finish off this spirit monkey. Wang Daoxing waved the mace with all his might. The whistling sound of the wind was continuous. The spirit monkey already had a hard time dodging the small fireballs. Now, with the addition of the mace, it was even more difficult. As it was distracted, it was quickly hit by the fireballs and suffered minor injuries. Although the injuries were not serious, it severely affected its agility. The spirit monkey could not dodge in time and was hit by the mace. It died on the spot. After finishing off the spirit monkey, Wang Daoxing found a new target. This target was a bear. It was brown all over and was more than 20 feet long. There was nothing special about it. It should be a demonic beast that evolved from an ordinary brown bear. Usually, such demonic beasts did not have intrinsic dharma spells. Compared to before they evolved into demonic beasts, their bodies were stronger and their strength was greater. To Wang Daoxing, such an opponent was a live target. It was just that it was more resistant to beatings and would not die in a short period of time. Wang Daoxing's side was fine for now. However, the 6 granduncles could not hold on any longer. 2 of the granduncles were already more than 110 years old. They were old and frail. Even if they recuperated at home, they would not have many years left. Now, they were trying their best to fight against demonic beasts that were stronger than them. Even with the protection of the golden armor talisman, the impact of the collision with the demonic beasts was still borne by their bodies. After dozens of rounds, the 2 granduncles' chi and blood were surging. They could not hold on any longer. Once the 2 of them fell, the other 4 granduncles who were fighting against the 7 demonic beasts would also be defeated quickly. The Wang family's side was breached and the demonic beasts were released. If the Netherworld sect pursued the matter, everyone would have to bear the consequences. The 12th uncle's granduncle, Wang Zhiming, had already rushed forward to share the pressure. However, he was still barely holding on and could be defeated at any time. Wang Daoyuan could not wait for an opportunity to take action. He could only directly throw out talismans. Although this could greatly reduce the pressure on the meat shield, it would also lose the opportunity to finish off the opponent. Both sides were engaged in a war of attrition. No one could defeat the opponent quickly. However, time was not on the Wang family's side. The 2 granduncles could still fall. Moreover, other demonic beasts could come at any time. The 2 granduncles, who were more than 110 years old, were holding the magic tools in their hands. They were almost unable to hold them. Their legs were also trembling. It was as if a gust of wind could blow them down. Their strength had been exhausted. They could only hold on until now by relying on their last breath. On Wang Shui's side, one hand was controlling the water dragon to fight with the raging flame lion. The other hand was gathering spiritual power. It seemed that he was going to condense another water dragon. Wang Daoyuan had already planned to take out the 2nd-level talisman. He could not hide his trump card and watch his clansmen die in battle. Chapter 37. Wang Daoyuan was about to take out his Grade 2 spirit talisman when he saw 3 people from the Li family. They were all at Qi refinement stage 9. The person in front smiled and said, "Daoyu from the Wang family, don't panic. We're here to help." Wang Daoyuan immediately replied, "Thank you, Daoyu. Please help hold back 2 demon beasts and let my 2 old granduncles rest." The Li family cultivator said, "You're welcome. The 3 of us can hold back 3 demon beasts. I'll leave the rest to you." "Thank you." Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands. The 3 Li family members shared the 3 demon beasts. The other 4 granduncles were all over 100 years old. They still had more than 10 years before their lifespans and had not shown any signs of exhaustion. They only needed to deal with 4 demon beasts. With the protection of the golden armor talisman and the support of the 12th uncle, Wang Zhiming, they could guarantee that they would not be defeated. Wang Daoyuan no longer threw out spirit talismans. Instead, he continued to look for opportunities to help Wang Daoxing deal with his opponents quickly. The 5 granduncles did not have any special skills in combat. Even if they found an opportunity, they did not have the ability to kill the demon beasts. Wang Shui's cultivation technique was of the water attribute. It was about small streams flowing continuously. Against enemies of the same level, the most suitable tactic was a war of attrition. Although he could also kill his opponent instantly, after that, he would not have much combat strength left. On the battlefield, it was very dangerous to exhaust one's spirit energy. Even though Wang Shui had the advantage of water-suppressing fire in the 5 elements, it was still very difficult to kill the blazing lion in a short time. However, Wang Daoxing was different. His lethality was quite strong. The black ape from before, the golden-eyed spirit monkey that had just died, and the brown bear that was being beaten up could all prove this point. Helping Wang Daoxing deal with his opponents quickly was the most reliable choice. Wang Daoxing waved his mace and jumped high, smashing it down on the brown bear's head. Although the brown bear was not clumsy, the mace was faster and it was impossible for it to dodge. The brown bear's 2 hind legs landed on the ground and its 2 front paws were raised, taking the mace head-on. If this mace hit a human cultivator of the same level, his bones and tendons would definitely be broken and his head would split open. However, the brown bear's skin was coarse, its flesh was thick, and its bones were hard. Even if it took a hit, it would only hurt its paws for a while. The brown bear was in a defensive position and focused all its attention on the mace. This gave Wang Daoyuan the perfect opportunity to launch a sneak attack. He took out a golden sword talisman, calculated the time when the mace would fall, and activated it. The golden dagger went straight for the brown bear's lumbar vertebrae and pierced into it before the mace fell. The brown bear hadn't felt the pain in its waist when the mace smashed down. The brown bear used all its strength to resist the mace, but it suddenly realized that its lower body was not listening to it. Regardless of whether it was a human or a terrestrial demonic beast, they all started from the ground. The lower half of the brown bear's body did not listen to its commands, and it could not use even half of its strength. Under Wang Daoxing's powerful blow, it directly fell to the ground. His head was protected by 2 bare paws, so his head didn't explode immediately. Wang Daoxing swung his mace a few more times. The brown bear fell on its back and completely withdrew from the battle. After Wang Daoxing took care of the brown bear, he took care of another demonic beast from his 4 granduncles. With the help of Wang Daoyuan, he quickly took care of it. In half an hour, except for the flame lion, all the demonic beasts that the Wang family dealt with were taken care of. The 4 granduncles were over 100 years old. Although they were still far from passing away, they were still old people. After fighting with a group of demonic beasts for half a day, their physical strength and spiritual energy were greatly consumed. They were not in the mood to tease the flame lion anymore, and all sat down to recover their spiritual energy. Wang Daoxing carried his mace and came to the battlefield of the flame lion and the water dragon. At this time, Wang Daoyuan's rain dispersal talismans had just expired. The flame lion could finally launch a counterattack against the water dragon. It urged the flames with all its might, trying to break free from the water dragon. How could Wang Daoyuan let it succeed? He took out 3 more rain dispersal talismans and threw them into the sky above the flame lion's head. On the flame lion's body, the flames that had just recovered were once again hit by the heavy rain. There was only a thin layer left. It was once again suppressed by the water dragon. Seeing this, Wang Daoxing swung his mace and was about to smash it. Wang Daoyuan immediately stuck an earth armor talisman on him. A layer of yellow armor covered his whole body. The original golden armor on his body was already dim. It could not withstand a casual blow from a peak rank 1 demonic beast. The flame lion was a fire attribute demonic beast, and the golden armor spell was a metal attribute spell. Fire countered metal. Against fire attribute spells, the golden armor talisman's defensive power was greatly reduced. The earth armor spell was an earth attribute spell. The only element that could counter the earth attribute was the wood attribute, but it was the weakest of the 5 attributes. The earth attribute was the best defensive attribute. The price of the earth armor talisman was higher than the golden armor talisman, but the defensive effect was similar. In the absence of fire attribute opponents, the golden armor talisman was more cost-effective. Therefore, The defensive talismans that Wang Daoyuan gave out to his clansmen were all golden armor talismans. After all, the Flame Lion was of the same rank as Wang Shui and had a special bloodline. Although Wang Shui had the upper hand, he could not beat his opponent like he did with the tiger. The Flame Lion could not move freely, but it could still fight back. As soon as Wang Daoxing approached the Flame Lion, he was spat out a fireball. If the defensive spell on his body was the golden armor spell, he would have been injured. After being hit by the fireball, the earth armor only flickered and dimmed a little. It would take at least 3 more attacks of similar strength to break the armor's shadow. However, the Flame Lion did not have the chance. It was already at a disadvantage. Coupled with Wang Daoyuan's rain talisman, it was already in a suppressed state. It spat out fireballs desperately, trying to repel Wang Daoxing. This gave the water dragon a chance. At this time, the Flame Lion was tightly bound by the water dragon. It was difficult for it to even move. A peak rank 1 demonic beast could only be slaughtered. Wang Daoxing did not hold back. He swung his mace and smashed it. After a while, the Flame Lion was dead. The Flame Lion had awakened its innate spell and was considered talented among its kind. It was just a matter of time before it became a rank 2 demonic beast. It did not expect to be smashed to death by a Qi disciple level 8 human. The 7 demonic beasts on the Wang family's side were all dealt with. Only the 2 granduncles had used up too much spiritual energy. Wang Daoyuan ordered everyone to hurry up and recover their spiritual energy. The next wave of demonic beasts could come at any time. As for himself, he went to help the 3 Li family cultivators deal with their opponents. After all, the Li family cultivators had kindly come to help. Although their combat strength was not good and they could not finish off their opponents after half a day, it was not appropriate for him to help them fight hard. The 3 Li family cultivators were also at Qi disciple level 9, the same as the 3 demonic beasts. However, they were not as strong as Wang Shui and Wang Daoxing, and were not as rich as Wang Daoyuan. They did not have the advantage against demonic beasts of the same rank. Wang Daoyuan also did not have the time to look for the demonic beasts' weaknesses. Moreover, the 3 Li family cultivators' combat strength was mediocre. It was difficult for them to force out the demonic beasts' weaknesses. He simply bombarded them with talismans. More than 20 offensive talismans of various types were thrown out. The 3 demonic beasts were all injured, light or heavy. The 3 Li family cultivators finally gained the upper hand. After 15 minutes, with Wang Daoyuan's help, the 3 demonic beasts were all killed. Chapter 38. The ownership of the 3 demonic beast corpses was a bit troublesome. The 3 Li family members helped to hold back the 3 demonic beasts, but the Wang family contributed even more. It was not appropriate for anyone to take the 3 demonic beast corpses. Wang Daoyuan thought to himself, the Li family wants to be friendly, and Li Xinghe is a good friend of the patriarch. Outside the Gold Goose City, the patriarch took the initiative to help the Li family out, so he should also want to be friendly with the Li family. This time, the Li family helped, so they owed them a small favor. It would be better to give the 3 demonic beast corpses to the Li family to return the favor and express their goodwill. So, he said, this time, thanks to the help of the 3 Dao Yu, my Wang family members would have been injured or killed. Please accept these 3 demonic beast corpses. The Li clan's patriarch, Li Xinghe, said, little friend, you're too polite. These 3 juniors of my Li clan are useless and didn't help much. It's all thanks to little friend's over 20 talismans that we were able to kill these 3 demonic beasts. The 2 of them pushed and pushed for a while, and finally decided that the Li family would take 2 demonic beasts and the Wang family would take 1. The 3 Li family members did not lose anything and earned 2 demonic beast corpses, which were worth 50 to 60 spirit stones, so they were all happy. Wang Daoyuan got 1 demonic beast corpse. Although its value was far less than the 20 talismans, he did not care about it. As long as he could form a good relationship with the Li family, this loss was not a big deal. After eliminating the second wave of demonic beasts, the demonic beasts seemed to have given up on probing the small hill, and no more demonic beasts came. Wang Daoyuan finally had some time to check the situation of the whole battlefield. Most of the demonic beasts struggled to climb up the cliff on the left side of the small hill, so few demonic beasts went to probe. The families guarding the hill were all idle. The flat ground on the right side of the small hill was very lively. Thousands of demonic beasts rushed forward without any regard for their lives. The Yang family led several families to rely on the earthen wall and shoot the demonic beasts with spirit crossbows. When the demonic beasts rushed close, they would use talismans to greet them. As for the cultivators, they were able to easily block the demonic beasts 20 steps away. 20 steps in front of the wall, more than 1,000 corpses of demonic beasts were piled up. The pile of corpses was no shorter than the wall. With the obstruction of the corpses, the damage caused by the spirit crossbows became less and less. On the other hand, the demonic beasts' charge became stronger with each wave. There were even demonic beasts that rushed to the edge of the earth wall. If this continued, the demonic beasts would be able to break through the earthen wall in less than half an hour. On the east side of the carriage gorge, more than 1,000 people were lying in ambush. Most of them were from the old families and the direct descendants of the underworld sect who were close to the old families. Other than the team led by Yang Xueqi, who faced the demonic beast horde head-on, the other teams faced fewer demonic beasts. It had to be said that the Yang family was quite popular. Once they were in a tight spot, the other teams immediately sent reinforcements to help the Yang family stabilize the defensive line. However, the number of cultivators who came as reinforcements was relatively small. There were only about 100 of them. After all, the other teams still had to look after their own lines of defense. If too many reinforcements came, their own lines of defense would not be able to hold. After that, they would definitely be dealt with by the Netherworld sect. Half an hour later, under the onslaught of wave after wave of demonic beasts, the earthen wall that Yang Xueqi had built collapsed. Thousands of demonic beasts directly charged into the group of cultivators, and both sides engaged in a hand-to-hand battle. Wang Daoyuan was very puzzled by the battle situation. The demonic beasts were already trapped. Not only did the cultivators on the west side of the carriage gorge not strike while the iron was hot and eliminate the demonic beasts in one fell swoop, they instead allowed the demonic beasts to attack the east side of the gorge where their forces were weak. No matter how he looked at it, it seemed like they were borrowing the hands of the demonic beasts to exhaust the strength of the old family. Wang Daoyuan's guess was very accurate. More than 10 li to the west of the carriage gorge, 3 Violet Mansion elders were discussing in a low voice. Lu Jinhui anxiously said, 2 elders wanting to exhaust the old family's strength is not a big deal. However, don't let your personal interests get the better of you. If the demonic beasts escape, the one who will suffer the greatest loss will be our Netherworld sect. 2 elders should stop before going too far. If you don't attack, the demonic beasts will all escape. Xueqi nodded and said, Elder Lu's words are reasonable. Let's stop before going too far and look at the big picture. The black-robed old man was eager for the old family to be exterminated. He was also the one who strongly advocated the idea of borrowing the hands of the old family. Elder Lu and Elder Zhou had nothing to do with the old family. The black-robed old man insisted again and again, even bringing up Elder Jean. The two of them could not refuse. At this time, the cultivators on the east side of the gorge had suffered heavy casualties. It was only a matter of time before the demonic beasts broke through the encirclement. Although the black-robed old man wanted to exterminate the old family, it did not mean that he wanted to sacrifice his own future. If the demonic beasts were to escape, the 3 Violet Mansion elders would suffer. Therefore, the black-robed old man did not object. At Xueqi's command, the 3,000 cultivators lying in ambush on the west side of the carriage gorge pounced on the demonic beasts like hungry tigers released from their cages. A moment later, the 3,000 cultivators charged into the horde of demonic beasts. After many rounds of exhaustion, there were only about 4,000 demonic beasts left. There were less than 3,000 demonic beasts. More than 200 Foundation Establishment cultivators flew in the air on their magic tools, encircling the demonic beasts. In addition, there were dozens of Foundation Establishment cultivators assisting the Qi condensation cultivators on the ground in cleaning up the demonic beasts. At this time, there was no need to talk about breaking through the encirclement. The entire battlefield had turned into a pot of porridge. Occasionally, a few demonic beasts would try to take advantage of the chaos to escape. As soon as they left the battlefield, they would be beheaded by the Foundation Establishment cultivators who were watching the battle. Based on the current situation, the demonic beasts were destined to be wiped out. However, in this kind of chaotic battle, there would be a lot of casualties. The Netherworld sect's own cultivators were well equipped and were the last to enter the battle, so there would not be too many casualties. However, it was hard to say for the cultivators of the old family. Wang Daoyuan secretly made up his mind. After returning, the old family should change their target. In the past, they wholeheartedly wanted to integrate into the Netherworld sect, but now it seemed that it was not reliable. The Yang family had a Violet Mansion elder in the Netherworld sect, but this time, they were also cheated. Even if the Wang family had Foundation establishment cultivators in the Netherworld sect, they could not be compared to the Yang family. When the time came, wouldn't they be cannon fodder? Swallowing their anger and humiliation and joining the Netherworld sect, was it just to be cannon fodder? Only a crafty rabbit with 3 burrows could avoid death. The Wang family only had the Netherworld sect, which was not taken seriously by the Netherworld sect. Now that the Netherworld sect and the Cruel Sun Palace frequently fought, who knew when they would be used as cannon fodder and pulled to the front line? After all, the Wang family's enmity with the Cruel Sun Palace had long been off the charts. It was simply the best bait. For the continuation of the old family, there must be a way out. After this battle, he had to persuade the old family to make early plans. The battle under the small hill was already one-sided. At most, the battle would be over in 4 to 6 hours, and there would be time to clean up the battlefield. The cultivators who did not participate in the chaotic battle also relaxed their vigilance. They would be able to go home soon. Wang Daoxing also said happily, "This time, it was really fun to fight. Unfortunately, we have to go home now." The 6 granduncles were also in a good mood. When they came out, they were already mentally prepared to not be able to go back. However, if they could go back alive, no one wanted to die. Wang Daoyuan was afraid that if they were too relaxed, they would not be able to react in time. He reminded them, "It's not that simple. Everyone, don't relax your vigilance." Everyone had a look of surprise. Only Wang Shui laughed lightly. "You also noticed something wrong? Why don't you tell us? Let's see if the 2 of us have the same judgment." Wang Daoyuan took out a soundproof talisman to prevent others from eavesdropping. He then said, "This group of demonic beasts advance and retreat in a measured manner. It's as if someone is commanding them to fight. Also, that black wind when they ambush the caravan can increase the killing range of the spell. I've never heard of a human cultivator or demonic beast having such a spell. It could be a secret spell created by a human cultivator, or the spell of a mutated demonic beast. It could also be some kind of magic tool. In my opinion, no matter what the situation is, it's impossible for a Foundation establishment cultivator to use such a spell. This group of demonic beasts is not as simple as they appear on the surface. At the very least," Wang Shui laughed lightly, "at the very least, there's a 3rd-ranked demonic beast or a Zifu realm cultivator hiding in the background. The only reasonable explanation for the Hidden One revealing his methods is that he wants more underworld sect elders to come. Since he used more than 10,000 demonic beasts as the price to set up this trap, it definitely won't end so easily. His goal is definitely not to deal with us small fries. It's very likely that he's targeting the underworld sect elders. The Hidden One used so many demonic beasts as bait to fish for the underworld sect elders. He should have enough means to deal with the 3 elders. The underworld sect should also have a backup plan. Next, it'll depend on who's stronger. Unless the Hidden One feels that he has no chance of winning and stops attacking. Otherwise, a great battle between Zifu realm cultivators is right in front of us. We Qi refinement small fries should hurry up and think of a way to save our lives." Wang Daoyuan thought to himself, "Patriarch really has a good eye for people. 12th uncle usually has a sloppy appearance and is too lazy to care about anything. But he's indeed cut out to be a patriarch. His eyesight and judgment are definitely not below mine." The underworld sect used dozens of carriages as bait to fish for demonic beasts. The other party also used demonic beasts to fish for the underworld sect. The underworld sect very likely has a backup plan. Both sides are old schemers. It'll depend on who's the final fisherman. The other 8 people of the Wang clan were shocked. They thought that they were going to go home. They didn't expect that it would be the rat pulling the shovel. The big head is at the back. Seeing that everyone was out of their wits, Wang Daoyuan simply stopped talking nonsense. "Don't let your imagination run wild. Be prepared. Once something happens, first take out a defensive talisman to protect yourself. Then look for an opportunity to escape. Remember, don't be the first to escape. Otherwise, you'll definitely be dealt with later. If you run when there are more than 50 people running away, the underworld sect won't be able to find fault with us afterwards. Also, you must run separately. Once the enemy makes a move, his strength is definitely not something we can resist. There's no point in gathering together. On the contrary, it's easy to attract attention. After escaping, don't return to Gold Goose City, so as to avoid being caught by the underworld sect as a scapegoat. Directly return to Jade Spring Peak. Wang Shi didn't have any objections. The others were already stunned. They only knew to nod blankly. Naturally, they also couldn't raise any opinions. Wang Daoyuan gave everyone another 5 talismans for escaping. They quietly waited for the arrival of the enemy. There were fewer and fewer demonic beasts and birds on the battlefield. Wang Daoyuan also became more and more nervous. The hidden one could make a move at any time. Clearly knowing that something was going to happen, but being powerless to stop it. They couldn't even escape in advance. They could only wait for the crisis to arrive. This kind of feeling was suffocating. The demonic beasts on the battlefield were quickly eliminated. The cultivators of the underworld sect were all cleaning up the battlefield. Such a good thing naturally wouldn't happen to non-members of the underworld sect, let alone the cultivators of the old clans. After eliminating all the demonic beasts and birds, Wang Xian returned to the small hill. After all, he was the only foundation establishment cultivator in the Wang clan. He was also taken away to deal with the demonic beasts. Without a foundation establishment cultivator to oversee the situation, the Qi disciple cultivators might suffer heavy losses. Wang Xian landed on the small hill. Seeing that none of his clansmen were killed or injured, he was a little surprised. Wang Daoyuan used sound transmission to report the process of the battle with the demonic beasts, as well as his and Wang Shui's speculations. Before the sound transmission finished, they heard a buzzing sound of insects flapping their wings. A moment later, the sound of flapping wings was like thunder, constantly echoing in the entire valley. Chapter 39. All kinds of insects surrounded the cultivators from all directions. Wang Daoyuan was not afraid. Instead, he was relieved. The danger in front of him was better than the unknown danger. He sent a voice transmission to Wang Xian, 5th great uncle. These are the demonic beast controllers' backup plan. Their target is the cultivators of the underworld sect. Don't take the lead. Find a chance to escape. I've given them all escape talismans. Don't worry about us. Wang Xian nodded and said, Everyone, take out your defensive talismans. Hearing the clan leader's words, everyone in the Wang family took out their earth armor talismans. After all, the earth armor talismans were afraid of fire. They could be easily broken by fire-type attacks. The earth armor talismans were more reliable. Although they were more expensive, the buzzing sound made them feel that their lives were more valuable than the earth armor talismans. The buzzing sound became louder and louder. The enemy finally showed up. All kinds of spiritual insects covered the sky. Everyone in the Wang family was surrounded by fire cloud bees. The fire cloud bees were red all over. When they flew over, they really looked like a cloud of fire. The stinger of the fire cloud bees had fire poison. Once hit, without any effective treatment, it would be like being in a furnace and they would die of dehydration. The fire cloud bees were very powerful against enemies. Unfortunately, they were only surrounded by worker bees. There were no queen bees or eggs, so it was useless to catch them. At this time, everyone was glad that they used the earth armor talismans instead of the earth armor talismans. Otherwise, the earth armor talismans would be broken in an instant. If that happened, they would not be able to keep their lives. However, although the fire cloud bees could not break the earth armor talismans in a short time, they could not stop their persistent attacks. If this dragged on, their chances of escaping would be slim. Wang Daoyuan took out a rain talisman. It formed a dark cloud with a radius of 5 feet in the air. Heavy rain fell from the dark cloud. The fire cloud bees immediately scattered and hid outside the range of the dark cloud. It was not that the rain talisman could cause any harm to the fire cloud bees. The rain talisman was not an offensive spell. The rain that fell was just ordinary water with some water-type spiritual energy. It was just that spiritual insects did not like water, especially fire-type spiritual insects. Once they came into contact with water, their spells would be weakened. There were plenty of targets for the spiritual insects to attack, so there was no need for them to take the risk and fight this group to the death. Wang Xian stroked his long beard and said with a smile, Daoyuan is indeed resourceful. A rain transformation talisman can be so useful. The other members of the Wang clan also heaved a sigh of relief. At the very least, there was no danger for the time being. The others were in a more difficult situation. The cultivators with water spiritual roots were better off, as they were temporarily safe with a rain transformation technique. Those without water spiritual roots could only use defensive spiritual talismans or consume spiritual energy to hold up a protective shield. A talisman like the rain transformation talisman was of little value. Usually, it was only useful for watering spiritual fields. Generally, cultivators who managed spiritual fields would learn the rain transformation technique. No one was willing to use the rain transformation talisman. This time, they came out to exterminate the demonic beasts. Who would bring this toy? Wang Daoyuan didn't have many rain transformation talismans. He had used a few to help Wang Shui, so he only had 2 left. However, the Wang clan didn't need to hold on all the time. They only needed to hold on until a portion of the cultivators couldn't hold on and fled the battlefield. Then, the Wang clan could follow the crowd and escape. On the flat ground to the right of the small hill, the cultivators of the underworld sect were happily cleaning up the battlefield. Since the battle had just ended, they were most relaxed. From the appearance of the buzzing sound to the spiritual insects attacking the cultivators, only 5 or 6 breaths of time had passed. The cultivators of the underworld sect didn't react in time. Many of them didn't even have time to hold up a protective shield before they were surrounded by the spiritual insects. On the other hand, the cultivators of the underworld sect didn't have the qualifications to clean up the battlefield. They focused on their surroundings. As soon as the buzzing sound appeared, they were prepared. Their situation was much better than the cultivators of the underworld sect. None of the spiritual insects dared to attack the 3 purple mansion elders. However, the 3 purple mansion elders were also helpless. With their strength, it wasn't difficult for them to use a few large-scale spells to kill all the spiritual insects. However, when the spiritual insects and the cultivators began fighting each other, the cultivators there would likely not be many who could survive after unleashing their ultimate moves to kill off the spiritual insects. In desperation, Xueqi had to announce loudly, "All qi refining cultivators, retreat immediately. Foundation establishment cultivators, listen to my command and kill the spiritual insects." Hearing Xueqi's order, Wang Jian said to everyone, "You guys follow Daoyuan's arrangement and retreat first. If I don't return alive, let Shi take over as the clan leader. If Shui doesn't return alive, let Dao Chong take over." Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said yes to Wang Jian. He directly took out an earth escape talisman and escaped into the ground. He didn't return to the Golden Goose City. Instead, he escaped directly to the east. To the east of the Carriage Gorge was the countless mountain peaks of the Huiyan Peak. After thousands of years of encirclement and suppression by humans, there weren't many demonic beasts. However, it was really tiring to use the earth escape technique to travel through the rocks. Although the rocks belonged to the earth element, they were far harder and denser than the soil. Using the earth escape talisman in the rocks greatly reduced the speed and greatly increased the consumption of spiritual power. A first-stage upper-grade earth escape talisman could travel 100 miles in ordinary soil. But in the rocks, it could travel a maximum of 30 miles. However, Wang Daoyuan wasn't worried about the distance. In order to escape at any time, he had a lot of earth escape talismans in his hands. He currently had more than 100 in his hands. Nearly half of them were enough for him to escape all the way back to the Jade Spring Peak. If he could travel underground, he would never show his face. Saving his life was the most important thing. What was face, spirit stones, and so on compared to his life? Compared to escaping into the earth escape technique and escaping into the rocks weren't completely inferior. At least, escaping into the rocks was better. With Wang Daoyuan's divine sense, he could penetrate 10 feet into the ground. But in the rocks, the divine sense's detection range was less than 1 foot. In order to avoid the enemy's detection, Wang Daoyuan tried his best to go down. Every foot he went down, the pressure on his body from the surrounding rocks increased. The consumption of spiritual power contained in the earth escape talisman also increased. When he went more than 10 feet into the rocks, the pressure on his body had reached its limit. If he continued to go down, he might be crushed. Although going down too deep would increase the burden on his body, it could reduce the probability of being discovered, so it was worth it. Wang Daoyuan sighed in his heart. It's a pity that I didn't cultivate a body refining technique. If it was second brother, Going down 20 feet would be easy. If there was a chance in the future, he should cultivate a body refining technique. After all, the body was the capital of revolution. Although body refining consumed a lot of resources and would seriously affect his cultivation, he didn't care about it. As long as he set aside a few mu of land in his space, he could use it in a few years. Resources were not a problem at all. As for his cultivation, with enough spirit-gathering pills, he didn't need to worry about the effects of pill toxins. His cultivation speed was comparable to the little genius with a 7-inch spirit root. Moreover, he didn't have a way to obtain foundation-building pills. Reaching the peak of Qi refining stage so quickly, other than increasing his battle strength, there was no other use. If his cultivation speed increased too quickly, there would be trouble with an unstable foundation. It was better to cultivate his body. The benefits of a strong body could be seen from Wang Daoxing's battle strength. In addition, slowing down his cultivation speed could strengthen his foundation and not attract too much attention. After all, everyone knew that he was a penta spirit root trash. It was already a bit ridiculous for him to cultivate from the 4th level of Qi refining stage to the 7th level in 4 years. If he quickly reached the peak of Qi refining stage, then it really couldn't be explained. Overall, it was better to slow down his cultivation speed for the time being and focus on cultivating his body. In addition, he also had to consider learning alchemy. Although his talent in alchemy was not as good as in talisman crafting, he had to learn it. He had already harvested 2 batches of spiritual herbs to refine spirit-gathering pills and stored them in the space of the spirit pearl. If he asked 12th Uncle Wang Zhiming to help him refine pills once or twice, it would be fine. But if he asked him to help with so many spiritual herbs in the space, he would definitely be suspected. Chapter 40. While thinking about what to do next, he continued to travel 10 feet underground. After an hour, Wang Daoyuan was already 100 miles away. Although he had the Earth Escape Talisman to provide spiritual power, his body was still under extreme pressure and felt very tired. If he didn't return to the surface to rest, he was afraid he would soon faint. However, he didn't dare to swagger out. After all, this place was only 100 miles away from the battlefield and the enemy was good at controlling spirit beasts and spirit insects. If he showed himself now, he would be easily discovered. He first rose to a depth of 5 feet above the ground to reduce the burden on his body, and then began to search for a suitable place to rest. In the mountains, there were often underground caves, rock cracks, and caves opened by demon beasts. Thousands of years ago, demon beasts were everywhere in Mount Huiyan. Later, they were wiped out by human cultivators, leaving behind a lot of caves. Just as he was about to search the surroundings, he found a rock crack in front of him. Although it wasn't very big, it was enough for one person to hide in. After entering the crack, he found that it was spacious enough to accommodate 3 to 5 people. Because it was deep underground, the crack was crooked and it was dark inside. However, for Wang Daoyuan, who was almost dead under the rock, being able to come out and take a breath was already good enough. Traveling through the rock didn't consume any spiritual power, but it was very tiring. He had detoxification, healing, recovery of spiritual power and other kinds of medicinal pills on him, but he didn't have any to relieve fatigue. Fortunately, he still had red blood wine and red blood ginseng that could replenish blood, strengthen the body, and relieve fatigue. He took out a jar of red blood wine that was brewed 3 years ago. This jar of wine had been in the space of the spirit bead and had been aged for 30 years. After drinking it, he felt refreshed and his body relaxed a lot. As expected of a 30-year-old wine, the effect of relieving fatigue was very good. After drinking half a jar in one breath, Wang Daoyuan felt full of energy and his fatigue was swept away. He took out an Earth Escape Talisman and was about to continue on his way when he suddenly felt a strong spiritual sense around him. This spiritual sense was far above Wang Daoyuan's and should be a foundation establishment cultivator. Wang Daoyuan was about to escape when he heard a voice above his head. What a fragrant wine! Only a wine that had been aged for at least 20 years would have such a mellow aroma. You underground bastard! Hurry up and come out. With your little ability, don't even think about escaping from my hands. Come up here obediently and hand over your storage pouch. If I'm happy, I might even let you live. It was impossible for Wang Daoyuan to believe his nonsense. He immediately activated the Earth Escape Talisman, but the result was that his head hit the stone wall. The Earth Escape Talisman that had just been activated also burned. Wang Daoyuan was a little confused. Then, a loud laugh came from above his head. If you insist on asking for trouble, then come up obediently. Otherwise, when I make my move, I'll make you beg for death. Wang Daoyuan had no choice but to crawl out of the crack. When he reached the ground, he saw a burly man standing in front of him. He had a ferocious face and looked like a fiend. His aura was much stronger than that of 12th uncle and 9th uncle. He should be a foundation establishment cultivator. The burly man said, "Quickly hand over your storage pouch and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, a mere Qi refinement stage level 7 cultivator like you will only die under the hands of a foundation establishment cultivator like me." Wang Daoyuan's mind raced. This burly man was a foundation establishment cultivator. His aura was far inferior to the clan leaders. He should be at the early stage of foundation establishment. Even so, there was no chance of a direct confrontation. Why don't I throw him a storage pouch first and then find an opportunity to plot against him with talismans? I still have a few level 2 talismans in my hands. It's still very possible to kill him. Wang Daoyuan pretended to be a coward. His whole body trembled as he took the storage pouch from his waist with one trembling hand and handed it to the burly man. He cried and begged for mercy. Junior's entire fortune is here. Senior, please spare Junior's life. Junior will never dare to forget Senior's great kindness. The burly man took the storage pouch and impatiently checked what was inside. He didn't have the demeanor of an expert at all. Wang Daoyuan was a little puzzled. He felt that the burly man was acting to lure him into making a move. However, if it was true and he didn't make a move, he wouldn't have any chance after the burly man finished checking the storage pouch. The moment the burly man opened the storage pouch, Wang Daoyuan took out the golden sword talisman and a small golden sword pierced towards the burly man's throat. Wang Daoyuan did not use a level 2 talisman. Instead, he used a level 1 superior grade golden sword talisman. If he was acting and Wang Daoyuan made a move, he would be pretending not to see through it and using this as a heaven-sent opportunity to make a move. At this moment, a normal person would definitely use their strongest trump card to ensure a one-hit kill. If the burly man wasn't acting and was truly focused on the storage pouch and was unguarded, this golden sword talisman would be enough to take his life. Even if he was acting and used a level 1 superior grade talisman to attack, it was to show that he had no other trump cards and was hiding his true trump card, a level 2 talisman. This time, I'm on the 3rd level. Let's see how far you can go. The moment the golden sword talisman was released, the burly man revealed a mocking expression and a layer of yellow armor appeared around his body. When the small golden sword stabbed into the shadow, it immediately dissipated, but the shadow of the armor remained intact. This was the earth armor technique. Among the common level 1 dermic spells, it had the strongest defense and was second to none. With a foundation establishment cultivation, the power of the earth armor technique was naturally not something the earth armor talisman could compare to. Furthermore, the burly man could provide an endless stream of spirit energy for the earth armor technique. There were only 2 ways to break the earth armor technique. One was to defeat it with absolute strength. The other was to exhaust the spellcaster's spirit energy, and the earth armor technique would break on its own. Given Wang Daoyuan's strength, it was difficult to achieve both of these methods. The only middle grade level 2 talisman was not an offensive talisman, but a divine travel talisman. A single low-grade level 2 talisman might not be able to break through the earth armor technique. The failure of the low-grade level 2 talisman made the burly man wary. He flew into the air on his sword and it would be difficult for Wang Daoyuan's talisman to hit him. At that time, he would be at the mercy of others. The burly man said with a mocking expression, "A mere level 7 Qi refinement junior wants to plot against me? You really don't know what's good for you." With that said, the burly man took out a yellow sword and slashed at Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan pasted 5 golden armor talismans on his body and activated them immediately. He was enveloped by 5 layers of golden light. When the sword slashed at the golden armor, it only managed to break 2 layers. The attack power of this foundation establishment cultivator was unexpectedly low. 4 years ago, when he fished out the Qing River carp, the foundation establishment cultivator only casually attacked him and Great Uncle Jiu. He only shared a small portion of the damage and even broke 3 layers of the defensive talisman. He was also severely injured. Although the earth element was good at defense and not good at offense, even a level 1 foundation establishment cultivator should be able to break 4 layers of the golden armor with a single slash. If he used the sword kinesis technique and the flying sword slashed over, all 5 layers of the golden armor would be broken and Wang Daoyuan would be severely injured. After receiving this slash, Wang Daoyuan pasted 3 more golden armor talismans on himself. However, the burly man still did not attack with his flying sword. Instead, he attacked with his sword like a qi refinement cultivator. Wang Daoyuan felt that he had overestimated the foundation establishment cultivator in front of him. He clearly did not know the sword kinesis technique. This was more interesting. The strongest attack of a foundation establishment cultivator was the sword kinesis technique. Within 1,000 feet, they could completely dominate a qi refinement cultivator. When an expert slashed with his full strength, 7 or 8 defensive talismans would not be enough. However, this foundation establishment cultivator did not know the sword kinesis technique and cultivated an earth element cultivation technique. In terms of attack, speed, and agility, he did not have anything to show. His sword was only a superior grade tier 1 Dharma weapon. If the burly man did not have any backup plans, he would not be able to take him down in a short time. After all, he still had more than 400 talismans and more than 200 defensive talismans. The burly man could only break 2 with 1 slash. He would need more than 100 slashes to break all the talismans. For more than 100 consecutive attacks of this level, even the clan leader could not do it, let alone a level 1 foundation establishment cultivator. If a foundation establishment cultivator could not do anything to a foundation establishment cultivator at the 7th level of qi refinement, he would be famous. Chapter 41. After 100 breaths, the burly man had slashed more than 10 times and destroyed more than 30 defensive talismans. He was so tired that he was panting. The burly man was out of breath. "Kid, how many talismans do you have? Are you done yet? I don't believe that I can't kill you." After saying that, he continued to slash at Wang Daoyuan with his sword. Wang Daoyuan was not feeling well either. Although he had the golden armor talisman, his body would still bear part of the force. Although it was only a small part, after more than 10 attacks, Wang Daoyuan still felt his qi and blood surging. Taking a beating without fighting back was not Wang Daoyuan's character. He took out a few wood thorn talismans and threw them at the burly man. A few wooden thorns as thick as an adult's arm appeared out of thin air and stabbed at the burly man. The wooden thorns collided with the armor and disappeared without a trace. The armor also dimmed a little. Wang Daoyuan did not expect these wooden thorns to be of much use. His goal was to consume the burly man's spirit energy. Among the 5 elements, wood countered earth. Although the wood element's attacks were weak, the efficiency of consuming the opponent's spirit energy was much higher than the other elements. If this continued, with more than 400 grade 1 talismans and a few grade 2 talismans, it was not certain who would be the one to die. Of course, this was under the condition that the opponent did not have any other secret techniques. If the opponent had an offensive secret technique, even if it was not very strong, a grade 2 secret technique could destroy a 7th level qi refinement cultivator. Even with a defensive talisman, it would be difficult to withstand. It was not a solution to continue wasting time like this. Neither of them wanted to continue wasting time. After all, this place was only about 100 miles away from the battlefield. Wang Daoyuan was afraid that others would chase after him. At that time, he would not be able to escape. The burly man wanted to take all the things on Wang Daoyuan. If others came to help, he would share a portion. Wang Daoyuan was throwing out talismans as if they were free. He was obviously a big fat sheep. It would be a loss to share it with others. If the people who came to help had evil intentions and took care of him, it would be a huge loss. Wang Daoyuan didn't dare to waste any more time. He took out a spirit travel talisman and quickly fled towards the east. When the burly man saw that Wang Daoyuan had escaped, not only did he not get angry, he became happy instead. They had been fighting here for quite some time, and were worried that someone would come to intercept them. But this brat took the initiative to change the location of the battle. When I deal with him later, I won't torture him anymore. I'll just give him a quick death. As for whether or not he could take down Wang Daoyuan, he had never considered this question. He was a first-level foundation establishment cultivator. How could there be an accident if he wanted to take down a junior at the 7th level of Qi disciple? How could a cooked duck fly away? This Qi condensation junior was dead for sure. Even a core formation ancestor could not save him. However, the kid's speed of escape was a little too fast. You're bullying me because I'm cultivating an earth attribute cultivation technique and my speed is slow. The burly man had just reached the foundation establishment stage and had yet to learn the sword kinesis technique, so he couldn't fly on his sword. He could only exhaust his spiritual energy and chase after the burly man on his 2 legs. Because of his cultivation technique, he couldn't catch up to Wang Daoyuan, who was using the divine travel talisman. The burly man chased with all his might, gradually shortening the distance. When he was within the range of Wang Daoyuan's talismans, he would be thrown a few offensive talismans. The burly man could only condense an earth armor to defend against the attacks. As a result, the burly man had to slow down or even stop, pulling the distance between him and Wang Daoyuan apart once more. The two of them chased for more than 10 hours and ran for more than 1,000 miles. At such a long distance, there shouldn't be anyone who would be monitoring 1,000 miles away. Furthermore, there were countless mountains of various sizes between this place and the Carriage Gorge battlefield. Wang Daoyuan arrived at a valley. This place could be considered as picturesque. Killing the lad here could be considered as not letting him down. After being chased for more than 1,000 miles, Wang Daoyuan had a rough understanding of the burly man's background. This guy had just reached foundation establishment and hadn't had the time to cultivate the sword kinesis technique and level 2 spells. Compared to a cultivator at the peak of chi refinement, his spiritual energy was more abundant and his level 1 spells were more powerful. In terms of fighting techniques, there was no qualitative improvement. This guy could only bully cultivators below the peak of chi refinement. Not to mention other foundation establishment cultivators, even if he wanted to take down a cultivator at the peak of chi refinement, it would take a lot of effort. The best cultivators at the peak of chi refinement, such as the 12th uncle, could even kill him. Wang Daoyuan made an analysis of the burly man's personality and other aspects. This guy seriously lacked experience in the pugilistic world and didn't have enough analysis of the enemy's strength. Moreover, he was too simple-minded. When he saw that Wang Daoyuan was rich, he chased after him like a mad dog. This guy had consumed so much spiritual energy and didn't know any level 2 spells. At this time, his combat strength was only at the peak of chi refinement, and it wasn't the strong kind. Of course, his physical body was still much stronger than the peak of chi refinement, but as long as he didn't cultivate the body tempering technique, he could kill him with a golden sword talisman. At this time, he didn't realize that he might be killed. He was most likely a disciple of some force living under the protection of his elders. This was the first time he came out to do something. This guy's status in his sect or family shouldn't be too high. After fighting for a long time, he had been using that khaki-colored long sword. He didn't have any talismans or other magic weapons, nor did he have any powerful spells. If he really had powerful elders, how could he be so poor? If the burly man could hear Wang Daoyuan's thoughts, he would definitely cry. If he wasn't so poor that he went crazy, why would he spend so much effort to chase a chi refinement junior for thousands of miles? His name was Zhang Deshang, and he was a disciple of the Thousand Spirit sect, the strongest of the 3 major sects of the Zhao state. His parents were ordinary people, and he joined the Thousand Spirit sect. He didn't have any connections to find a master, so he was just an ordinary disciple. After working hard for decades in the sect, he finally saved enough contribution points to exchange for a foundation building pill and successfully built his foundation. However, his assets were reduced to what they were before he was liberated overnight. Apart from this top-grade level 1 magic weapon, he had nothing else that he could take out. He didn't even have the contribution points to learn the standard sword control technique for foundation establishment cultivators, let alone a level 2 magic weapon. This time, the Thousand Spirit sect was scheming against the Underworld sect. When he heard that there was a chance to get some spirit stones, he volunteered to earn some extra money. Long before he took action, he was still lying in ambush in the distance when he noticed Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan's behavior of scattering talismans made him think that this was a fat sheep. Not to mention other things, just the pile of talismans that he took out was worth 1,000 or 2,000 spirit stones. Moreover, Wang Daoyuan didn't care about those talismans at all, which made him even more certain that this fat sheep was overflowing with oil. As long as he could take down this fat sheep, he could exchange for the sword control technique and even buy a level 2 magic weapon. Wealth moved people's hearts. When Wang Daoyuan escaped underground, Zhang Deshang didn't hesitate to chase after him. Wang Daoyuan escaped 10 feet underground, and even with his divine sense, he couldn't track him. However, The Thousand Spirit sect was famous for controlling insects and beasts. Which disciple didn't raise spirit beasts or spirit insects? Zhang Deshang was no exception. He raised an earth-drilling mouse. An adult earth-drilling mouse had peak level 1 strength. With enough resources, it had a high chance of breaking through to level 2. The earth-drilling mouse wasn't good at fighting, and its only specialty was escaping underground. Zhang Deshang's earth-drilling mouse was peak level 1 and could easily travel 300 feet underground. Its speed was far faster than cultivators of the same level who used the earth escape technique. Wang Daoyuan used the earth escape talisman to travel 10 feet underground, and the earth-drilling mouse followed behind him. It could be said that Wang Daoyuan couldn't escape from Zhang Deshang's sight. Just as Wang Daoyuan had guessed, Zhang Deshang had never gone out to train and had entered the sect since he was young. Even when he accumulated contribution points, he did things in the sect. This was the first time he had left the sect since he started cultivating. Chapter 42. Wang Daoyuan stopped in the valley. He ran all the way mainly relying on various escape talismans, so his spirit energy and stamina weren't used up much. In order to confuse the opponent, he still pretended that his spirit energy was low and his stamina was exhausted. Zhang Deshang was panting like a dog in June, almost sticking out his tongue. When he saw that Wang Daoyuan stopped running and was also panting, he felt a lot better. Otherwise, he would really suspect that the young man in front of him was a Foundation establishment cultivator in disguise. Zhang Deshang channeled his spirit energy, pretending that nothing was wrong, trying to maintain his image of victory. This little trick naturally couldn't fool Wang Daoyuan. Also, in order to confuse the opponent, Wang Daoyuan used his spirit energy to force himself to sweat. His face was pale without a trace of blood, gasping for breath. "I am not good at running. I really can't run anymore. If you want to kill me, do as you please." Zhang Deshang channeled his spirit energy, forcefully suppressing his surging qi and blood, his hands behind his back, acting like a senior expert saying, "If you knew it would be like this, you wouldn't have done it in the first place. I originally didn't intend to kill you. As long as you hand over all your belongings, I'll let you live. Unfortunately, you didn't know what's good for you and ambushed me. Refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. I can't let you live this time. Quickly hand over your storage bag. I'll give you a quick death." Wang Daoyuan looked like he had nothing left to live for. "I know I've offended Senior. I don't dare to expect to live. I'm willing to hand over all my belongings. I only ask Senior to leave my corpse intact so that my family can find it and bury it in the ancestral grave." Zhang Deshang pretended to think for a while, saying, "Seeing that you can repent, hand over your storage bag and I'll leave your corpse intact." Wang Daoyuan held a storage bag with both hands, trembling as he delivered it to Zhang Deshang, then slowly retreated. Zhang Deshang had been watching vigilantly, until Wang Daoyuan retreated 10 feet away. Only then did he relax. Because the range of Qi Disciple Peak Stage Cultivator's spirit sense doesn't exceed 10 feet. The range of using talismans from afar is also within 10 feet. Wang Daoyuan was more than 10 feet away, and could not pose a threat to him. At this moment, Zhang Deshang hurriedly opened his storage bag. There were more than 100 thick talismans in the storage bag. Of course, not all of them were talismans. Wang Daoyuan was not stupid enough to hand over a large number of talismans. There were only a dozen or so first-level high-grade non-offensive and defensive talismans and a second-level low-grade golden knife talisman. The rest were all talisman papers. He took all the talismans in his hand with an intoxicated expression on his face. He counted the talismans one by one in his hand. In fact, as long as one used one's divine sense to scan, one would know how many there were, but Zhang Deshang actually counted them one by one like a mortal. He really had never seen money before. A dignified Foundation establishment cultivator was actually so shabby. Zhang Deshang was counting energetically when he suddenly discovered that one of the talismans was different from the others. The other talismans were all yellow talismans, but this one was purple. Moreover, it contained far more spiritual power than the yellow talismans. He held the purple talisman in his hand. Just as he was about to carefully examine it, the purple talisman suddenly shattered. A golden knife appeared out of thin air, directly chopping towards his head. Zhang Deshang had already completely relaxed his vigilance. He was carefully observing again. The purple talisman was only 3 or 4 inches away from his forehead. The distance was so close, and it was a deliberate attack. Before Zhang Deshang could react, The golden knife was nailed between his eyebrows. Zhang Deshang had an incredulous look on his face. He opened his mouth with difficulty and asked, "Why?" Wang Daoyuan finally relaxed, smiling easily. "My divine sense is far superior to cultivators of the same level." Finished speaking, he added a golden sword talisman to Zhang Deshang's heart. Blood continuously flowed out from the wound. Wang Daoyuan still did not dare to approach. After all, caution is the parent of safety. The dying blow of a foundation establishment cultivator was not something he, a qi condensation cultivator, could withstand. Although Zhang Deshang was a disgrace among foundation establishment cultivators, he was still a genuine foundation establishment cultivator. His strength was there for all to see. Only by paying attention to your opponent could you live a little longer. After waiting for a long time, Zhang Deshang's blood had flowed dry. Wang Daoyuan stuck 5 golden armor talismans on his body and slowly walked over. The expected fatal blow did not appear. Zhang Deshang was completely done for. Originally, he thought that this move might not necessarily work. If it failed, then he would smash out all his attack and defense talismans. If he couldn't kill him, then he would use a second-rank middle-grade Spirit Strider talisman to escape. This wooden club shouldn't be able to catch up. He didn't expect it to actually succeed like this. Wang Daoyuan himself did not dare to believe it. He ridiculed, "Truly a disgrace to foundation establishment cultivators. Finished off by a second-rank low-grade golden knife talisman like this." He didn't even struggle before death. If Zhang Deshang could hear what he said, he would probably curse out loud. "Am I not just a little poor? How did it become a disgrace? I wanted to drag you down with me before death, but you were too cowardly. You waited until my blood ran dry before coming over. What did I use to struggle?" Of course, Zhang Deshang could no longer hear. Wang Daoyuan began to search the body. He took a storage pouch and a spirit beast pouch from his waist. He also found a white jade token. On one side was Myriad Spirit Sect, and on the other side was Zhang Deshang. Wang Daoyuan suddenly felt a bit of a toothache. This was provoking the lion. What kind of power was the Myriad Spirit Sect? It was one of the 3 major sects of the state of Zhao, ranked first in strength. It had 7 or 8 golden core cultivators, 30 to 40 Zifu cultivators, no less than 500 foundation establishment cultivators, and countless qi refining disciples. This was only the strength on the surface. No one knew how much strength was hidden in the dark. A single hair of the Myriad Spirit Sect was thicker than the Wang family's waist. Could it be that he didn't look at the imperial calendar before leaving? How could he be a disciple of the Myriad Spirit Sect just because he killed a second-rate foundation establishment cultivator? Speaking of which, cultivators didn't look at the imperial calendar. Wang Daoyuan did not panic. After all, this guy Zhang Deshang was poor and definitely did not have any background. In the Myriad Spirit Sect, he was just an ordinary foundation establishment cultivator, the kind that was at the bottom. For a large sect like the Myriad Spirit Sect, it was not uncommon for foundation establishment cultivators to go out and disappear without a trace. As long as it was not a descendant or disciple of a golden core cultivator, they would not search with great fanfare. At most, some old friends would search on their own. Thus, as long as he did not let anyone find evidence of him killing Zhang Deshang, no one would come looking for trouble. After all, the Wang family was in the territory of the underworld sect. Wang Daoyuan had gotten into this trouble because he had been recruited by the underworld sect. Logically speaking, the underworld sect would not let the Myriad Spirit Sect come looking for trouble openly. As for revenge in the dark, the Wang clan was no longer worried about debts, no longer biting lice. The old ancestor killing several Jindan stage elders of the Cruel Sun Palace was much more important than this. Wasn't the Wang clan still there? Even so, he still had to deal with the aftermath. Wang Daoyuan put Zhang Deshang's body into an empty storage bag and put the storage bag into the space of the spirit pearl. Zhang Deshang's storage bag, spirit beast bag, token, and the soil at the scene of the incident were all shoveled away and thrown into the space. He carefully observed the surroundings to see if there were any traces left behind. Then, he threw out a rain dissipation talisman. A torrential rain fell in the valley. All traces were washed away by the heavy rain and disappeared without a trace. Wang Daoyuan did not continue towards the Jade Spring Peak in the southeast. Instead, He turned towards the northeast to confuse any possible pursuers. Using the haste talisman, he walked for hundreds of miles until he came across a mountain stream. He took out a water escape talisman and entered the water. Following the direction of the stream, he went downstream towards the southeast. Among the 5 elements escape techniques, the earth escape technique was the most practical because soil could be seen everywhere. The fire escape technique was the fastest but also the most conspicuous. After all, a large fireball flew past and could be seen by anyone. The water escape technique was the most difficult to track because the water was constantly flowing. The traces left by the water escape technique would flow with the water and not be tracked for long. Wang Daoyuan used the stream to escape. Unless someone was following him at this time, the aura and other traces left behind would disappear after a while. Chapter 43. After a few trips, Wang Daoyuan finally returned to Jade Spring Peak 3 days later. He did not return to his cave residence, but went straight to the executive hall beside Jade Dragon Spring to report the situation to Grand Elder Wang Jiren. Previously, a few rogue cultivators who participated in the extermination of the demonic beasts had returned, and there was some bad news about the battle. However, none of the people who participated in the extermination of the demonic beasts with the patriarch of the Wang family had returned, and the elders who stayed behind were all anxious. Seeing Wang Daoyuan return, Wang Jiren was overjoyed and immediately summoned the elders of the family for a meeting to reassure everyone. After all, the patriarch of the Wang family and the designated successor of the patriarch were among them. If there was an accident, the family would inevitably have a power struggle. After a while, the elders of the Wang family who were still on Jade Spring Peak quickly rushed to the executive hall. There were a total of 10 elders in the Wang family. 2 of them were outside, and it was unknown whether they were dead or alive. 9th Uncle Wang Shaod was in charge of Qingli Market, and there were 7 elders of Jade Spring Peak dealing with the daily affairs. As soon as the elders arrived, they surrounded Wang Daoyuan and asked him all kinds of questions. After everyone was present, Wang Jiren said, "Silence, everyone is here. Let's listen to what Daoyuan said." Wang Daoyuan briefly described the process from the conflict outside the Golden Goose City to the escape of the Qi refining stage cultivators, and solemnly said, "The elders of the Netherworld sect ordered the Qi refining stage cultivators to evacuate, and the Foundation establishment stage cultivators to resist the spiritual insects. Before we evacuated, the Patriarch said that if he did not come back, the 12th uncle Wang Shui would inherit the Patriarch's position. If the 12th uncle did not come back, the 3rd brother Wang Daochong would inherit the Patriarch's position." After listening to Wang Daoyuan's words, the elders did not doubt because Wang Shui was the designated successor of the family, and Wang Daochong was also praised by the Patriarch many times for his calm character, and he was suitable to be the Patriarch. These words were reasonable and there was no doubt. However, believing in the heart and believing in the mouth were 2 different things. Although there was no doubt in Wang Daoyuan's words, after all, it was empty talk, and there was no evidence. At this moment, a middle-aged elder opened his mouth and said, "Daoyuan, do you have proof for your words?" This middle-aged elder was called Wang Shoufeng, and he was ranked 6th in the Shou generation. His aptitude was very good, and he was only second to Wang Shui among his peers. He was 20 years older than Wang Shui. Before Wang Shui started cultivating, he had always been the focus of the clan's nurturing. In the future, it was very likely that he would become a foundation establishment cultivator and inherit the position of clan leader. However, Wang Shui appeared out of nowhere. His aptitude was the best after the Wang family's ancestor, completely crushing Wang Shoufeng. Since then, Wang Shui's cultivation had improved tremendously. He had reached the peak of Qi refinement earlier than Wang Shoufeng. Furthermore, Wang Shui was an open-minded person who didn't seek personal gains. He had a very high prestige in the clan. Wang Shoufeng, on the other hand, was too selfish and dishonest. He was not a qualified successor. After Wang Shui's cultivation reached the peak of Qi refinement, he was internally designated as the successor to the clan leader. In the future, if the clan sold everything they had to obtain a foundation establishment pill, they would naturally give it to him. Wang Shoufeng had always harbored a grudge against Wang Shui, believing that Wang Shui had snatched away what originally belonged to him. This time, when Wang Shui's fate was unknown, he saw an opportunity. He wanted to take back what originally belonged to him. Although Wang Shoufeng's question was a rhetorical question, and everyone knew in their hearts that it was true, Wang Daoyuan really couldn't produce any evidence. Since there's no evidence, there's no way to prove whether it's true or not. Then how should the clan leader be decided? Wang Daoyuan fell into deep thought. When the clan leader said this, he didn't leave anything behind. Sixth uncle clearly didn't want to admit it and wanted to seize the power to become the clan leader. He wasn't an elder and didn't have any real power. He had no right to speak on this matter. Helpless, he could only use a delaying tactic. When the clan leader said this, the 10 of us were present. Since I can escape, the other clan members might be able to escape. If someone manages to escape, let him relay the clan leader's words. If there's no discrepancy with what I said, it can prove that it's true. Elders, what do you think? Wang Jiren was afraid that Wang Shofeng would cause trouble again, so he said, Dao Yuan's words are reasonable. Let's wait for the next clan member to come back before making a decision. In addition to the first elder, 3 other elders agreed. They had the advantage of numbers. Wang Shofeng had no excuse to object and agreed with Wang Daoyuan's words. Dao Yuan's words are reasonable, but the clan can't be without a leader. Before that, someone has to act as the clan leader. 2 other elders agreed with Wang Shofeng's words. Wang Daoyuan thought to himself, where there are people, there will be Jianghu. The clan isn't harmonious either. They're already divided into 2 factions. If the clan grows stronger in the future, who knows what will happen? With the clan leader in charge, no one dared to make trouble. Now that the clan leader was out and the first elder couldn't suppress people, these 3 elders jumped out to make trouble. However, Wang Daoyuan couldn't do anything. Whether it was seniority, strength, or real power, he wasn't qualified to express his opinion. He could only watch. Suddenly, a domineering aura pressed down, making everyone a little breathless. Then, an old but domineering voice sounded. How about this old man act as the clan leader? Wang Daoyuan felt that this voice was both familiar and unfamiliar. It was definitely Grand Duke Wang Jiza. What made Wang Daoyuan feel unfamiliar was that Wang Jiza had always been amiable. He never knew that the old man had such a domineering side to him. Wang Jiza had always been guarding the hidden scripture tower and didn't interfere with clan affairs. Everyone had forgotten that there was such a grand elder in the clan. The white-bearded and white-haired Wang Jiza walked through the door of the meeting hall. His originally stooped back became as tall and straight as a pine tree. As the grand elder, I will act as the clan leader. Do you have any objections? The first elder and the other 3 elders were overjoyed and said that they had no objections. Although Wang Shofeng and the other 2 elders were unhappy, they didn't dare to raise any objections. The position of Grand Elder was usually held by the clan leader's elders. Their cultivation must also be high enough. Their position wasn't lower than the clan leaders, or even higher. However, they didn't manage the clan affairs and didn't have real power. However, the Grand Elder had a great power, and that was to replace the clan leader. At this time, the clan leader hadn't returned. It was reasonable for the Grand Elder to temporarily act as the clan leader. Wang Daoyuan didn't have the right to express his opinion in front of the elders. This was the clan's rule. In front of the Grand Elder, the elders also didn't have the right to object. This was also the rule. Seeing Wang Shofeng and the other 2 elders being defeated, Wang Daoyuan was very happy. Although he wasn't familiar with his 6th uncle, Wang Shofeng still wanted to fight for power when the clan was in danger. If such a selfish person became the clan leader, the clan would soon be finished. Since you all have no objections, I will give the order. From today onwards, Jiren will be in charge of all clan affairs. Shofeng still had selfish motives when the clan was in danger. He stayed at home to reflect on his mistakes. Without my or the clan leader's orders, he can't go out. The rest of the elders will protect the clan's foundation. To prepare for the worst, I will personally go to Qingli Market and bring Dao Chong back. If Xian and Shui don't come back, Dao Chong will take over as the clan leader. If anyone disregards the clan's survival for their own selfish interests, they will be severely punished. Everyone agreed in unison. Chapter 44. Wang Jiza strode out of the meeting hall, and then flew directly to the southeast on his sword. The white-robed, white-bearded, white-haired old man soared into the sky on his flying sword. The clansmen had their backbone again, and there was no longer a trace of panic. They maintained the operation of the clan step by step, and the clan regained its peace again. The old man was like a stabilizing needle. With him around, the clansmen had confidence. It was said that Wang Jiza was plotted against when he went out, and his cultivation fell. It seemed that this was a cover-up by the clan to not attract attention. At this time, Wang Jiza did not look like his cultivation had fallen. His aura was much stronger than that of the clan leader. In just a little more than a day, Wang Jiza returned to Yuchuan Peak with Wang Daochong and Wang Jida. They went by flying sword, and came back by spirit ship. Otherwise, they could have gone back and forth in 4 hours. Not long after they came back, the wounded Wang Daoxing also returned to Yuchuan Peak. It was a matter of great importance. The elders and Wang Jiza did not have time to wait for him to heal. They directly asked Wang Daoxing what the clan leader said at that time. Wang Daoxing's words were exactly the same as Wang Daoyuan's. All the elders heaved a sigh of relief. They unanimously decided that if Wang Jian or Wang Shui did not return to Yuchuan Peak within a month, they would immediately announce that Wang Daochong would inherit the position of clan leader. The situation was settled, and the power struggle in the clan calmed down. After settling the issue of the clan leader's successor, Wang Jida was sent out by Wang Jiza again before he had time to catch his breath. He went to Qingli City to inquire about the details of the battle in Guiyan Valley. Wang Jida had been in Qingli City all year round. After decades, he had accumulated a lot of connections. Among the rogue cultivators, he also had some good friends. Among the rogue cultivators, there were all kinds of people, and it was very suitable to inquire about information. Apart from Wang Jida, only Wang Jian and Wang Shui often went out to travel and had some connections among the rogue cultivators. But it was unknown whether they were alive or dead. Other than Wang Jida, no one else could do the work of mobilizing connections and inquiring about information. Wang Daoyuan did not want to be idle. He and Wang Daoxing were surrounded by a group of elders, who asked about the details and the experience of escape. Wang Daoxing was as valiant as ever. While 7th uncle Wang Shouhong was still treating his wounds, he volunteered and began to describe his glorious journey of killing his way back. It was quite similar to how 2nd uncle Wang Shouhong scraped the bones and treated the poison. Wang Shouhong was an alchemist with a cultivation of Qi disciple level 9. Currently, he could already refine all the common level 1 pills. He was only one step away from breaking through to level 2. He was a person of few words. Other than alchemy and medical skills, he was not interested in anything else. However, even such a person was frowning at Wang Daoxing. He was probably complaining in his heart, "This nephew of mine is really a little too much." A quarter of an hour later, after the wound was treated, Wang Daoxing was still talking about his glorious deeds. "I just escaped from the carriage gorge, and according to what Daoyuan said, I didn't go through Jinyan City, but directly came to our Jade Spring Peak. After running for less than 100 miles, someone blocked his path. The guy who blocked my way wasn't very strong. He was only at the 7th level of Qi refining. He wasn't even strong enough to be knocked down by my staff. Only that guy's spiritual beast was very difficult to deal with. One man and one beast besieged me, and it took me a lot of effort to smash them to death. Along the way, I met 5 or 6 groups of people like this, which delayed my return." After listening to his words, Wang Daoyuan felt like there was something wrong somewhere, so he asked, "Second brother, you didn't run back directly, did you?" Wang Daoxing replied without hesitation, "Yes, what's wrong?" Wang Daoyuan touched his forehead with his hand. "I gave you so many escape talismans, why didn't you use them to escape?" Wang Daoxing slapped the back of his head, and said with an awkward but polite smile, "I forgot about that." All the elders didn't know what to say. Their clan was unfortunate to have produced such an idiot. Wang Jiren seemed to have thought of something, and said with a big laugh, "Daoxing was able to escape like that, so the others wouldn't have a problem." Wang Daoyuan didn't have the heart to hurt him, but he was afraid that hiding the truth would cause the elders to make a wrong judgment, so he could only say, "The one who chased me was a Foundation establishment cultivator." "What?" Wang Daoxing said in shock. "How did you come back alive?" Everyone also looked at Wang Daoyuan in shock. "I killed him, so I came back alive." "How is that possible?" an elder exclaimed. The closer a cultivator was to Foundation establishment, the more they knew how big the gap was between Foundation establishment and Qi refinement cultivators. That gap made them feel despair. Now that they heard Wang Daoyuan say that he killed a Foundation establishment cultivator, Their first reaction was disbelief. It wasn't that Qi refinement cultivators didn't kill foundation establishment cultivators, but all the successful cases were geniuses at the peak of Qi refinement, who relied on powerful trump cards to kill foundation establishment cultivators at the first or second level. As for those who succeeded, they were all disciples of great powers. It was unheard of for a 7th-level Qi refinement cultivator to kill a foundation establishment cultivator. Everyone knew that the Wang clan didn't have such a powerful trump card. Even Wang Jize was curious. Daoyuan, tell us the details of the counterattack. Wang Daoyuan described his escape from the battlefield, his pursuit by Zhang Deshang, and his final counterattack. All the elders were dumbfounded. Wang Daoxing was a little ashamed. I thought that smashing a few enemies to death was already very impressive. I didn't expect Little Seven to encounter such a powerful opponent. Not only did he escape unscathed, he even managed to counterattack. Actually, it wasn't that difficult. It's just that this foundation establishment cultivator is too weak. He hasn't even learned the sword kinesis technique. He doesn't have any second-level Dharma artifacts or spells. His spirit beast isn't battle-type either, and he doesn't have any combat experience. Even so, I used more than 100 spirit talismans, and 1 second-level spirit talisman. According to my estimation, the enemy was monitoring the entire battlefield. They sent people to intercept the cultivators based on their strength and value. I used a lot of spirit talismans on the battlefield, so I must have been targeted. The foundation establishment cultivator who chased after me also had a storage bag that was cleaner than his face. He must have been after my wealth. Second brother only revealed his strong physical body on the battlefield, so the people who intercepted him weren't very strong. On the other hand, 12th uncle only used the water dragon technique on the battlefield to defeat a peak first-level demon beast without being able to fight back at all. I estimate that the person who chased after 12th uncle was probably also a foundation establishment cultivator. After hearing that, all the elders fell silent. Wang Daoyuan had only revealed a little of his spirit talismans, but he was already hunted down by a foundation establishment cultivator. Wang Shui, on the other hand, had exposed his super-strong combat strength. It was almost certain that he would be hunted down by a foundation establishment cultivator. Although Wang Shui's combat strength was strong and he had a lot of trump cards, it wasn't certain that he could kill an enemy above his level. Wang Daoyuan could counterattack and kill a foundation establishment cultivator because that foundation establishment cultivator was too weak. Wang Daoyuan's cultivation was low and the enemy had underestimated him. That was why they had an opportunity. Wang Shui had exposed his combat strength. The enemy wouldn't underestimate him. No matter how strong his combat strength was, it couldn't make up for the difference in cultivation realm. Everyone could only pray that Wang Shui could avoid being hunted down. Wang Daoyuan and the other juniors only heard that Wang Shui was very talented, but they didn't know what Wang Shi meant to the family. All the elders knew that Wang Shui was the hope of the Wang family to return to the peak. His talent was only slightly inferior to the ancestors, but his conditions were much better than the ancestors. Back then, Wang Chengzu started from scratch. He had no cultivation techniques, no guidance, and no cultivation resources. He had to rely on himself to kill his way out. On the other hand, Wang Shui had the cultivation techniques and cultivation experience left behind by Wang Qingzu. He also had the family's financial support. As long as he could obtain the foundation establishment pill, he would be able to pass the foundation establishment stage. With his talent, he would be able to reach the 9th level of foundation establishment within 100 years. Although it was difficult to establish the Violet Palace realm, it wasn't life-threatening. Back then, Wang Qingzu didn't have the foundation establishment pill. He didn't have the supplementary elixirs to establish the Violet Palace realm and form the core. He had succeeded in breaking through the foundation establishment, Violet Palace realm, and Golden Core realm on the first try. Chapter 45. If Wang Shi didn't come back, there would be no hope for the revival of the family. Although Wang Daochang was very talented, his main spiritual root was a fire spiritual root, so he couldn't cultivate the water attribute techniques and spells left by Wang Qingzu. The Wang family also didn't have any decent fire attribute techniques, so Wang Yuan's potential and usefulness to the family was far less than Wang Shui's. All the elders regretted that they didn't oppose the patriarch bringing Wang Shui out. Unfortunately, There was no medicine for regret in this world. "Why don't we send a few people to help Xueqi?" an elder asked. The other elders agreed. Wang Jize waved his hand and said, "Someone needs to go, but it's useless for you to go. I'll go personally. After I leave, you guys stabilize the family. The other patriarchs in Xueqi are fine, but the family is in chaos." All the elders agreed in unison. Wang Jize flew towards the northwest on his sword. Wang Daoyuan and Wang Daoxing had just escaped death, so the elders didn't give them any tasks, so they returned to their respective cave residences to rest. After returning to the cave residence, Wang Daoyuan's divine sense entered the space of the spiritual pearl and carefully checked the storage bag and spiritual beast bag left behind by Zhang Deshang. After Zhang Deshang died, he left behind 3 storage bags, 2 of which were thrown to him by Wang Daoyuan. This miser was really willing to give up his life. In the spiritual beast bag, there was only a dead rat, which was thrown into the pond by Wang Daoyuan to feed the fish. Zhang Deshang's own storage pouch only contained a beast-skinned book, 3 jade slips, and a few spirit stones. It was really embarrassing. There was no sign of a foundation establishment cultivator at all. He could only wait and see if the 3 jade slips would bring him any surprises. The first jade slip recorded a level 2 spell, the earth-shaking technique, which was the spell Zhang Deshang used to stop Wang Daoyuan from escaping through the earth. Not only could this technique break through the earth, but it also had a certain effect on all spells that relied on the earth to cast them. Earth elemental spells were more powerful because they relied on the earth to cast them. The earth-shaking technique could be said to be the nemesis of earth attribute cultivators. This spell was quite practical, but it was a pity that it was an earth attribute spell. Wang Daoyuan couldn't learn it for the time being. The second jade slip recorded an earth attribute cultivation method called Earth Origin Method. It should be Zhang Deshang's main cultivation method, and could be cultivated to the late stage of foundation establishment. Wang Daoyuan had already reached the late stage of qi refining, so it was not worthwhile to change his cultivation method before he built his foundation. What's more, Wang Daoyuan had 5 balanced spiritual roots, so it was meaningless for him to cultivate a single elemental cultivation technique. After foundation establishment, one would also choose a multi-attribute cultivation technique. There was no point in keeping the Earth Origin technique. It was better to hand it over to the clan together with the Earthquake technique and exchange it for contribution points. In a small clan like the Wang clan, a cultivation technique that could allow one to cultivate to the late stage of foundation establishment was still very valuable. The third jade slip caused Wang Daoyuan to instantly become spirited. This jade slip recorded the secret manual of spirit manipulation. This secret manual didn't record any cultivation methods, spells, or anything like that. It only talked about things related to spirit beasts, including how to raise spirit beasts, tame them, and recognize them as their masters. This was simply a beast tamer's inheritance. The so-called spirit beasts were tamed demon beasts. Regardless of whether they were birds or beasts, they could all be called spirit beasts. Unfortunately, the beast taming method recorded in the jade slip was only at the 2nd level. The contents of higher levels were the core secrets of the Thousand Spirit sect and were not something that a foundation establishment cultivator could take out. But for the Wang clan, it was extremely suitable. The Wang clan did not have the ability to capture a 3rd-level demon beast. This thing could not be taken out now. This was the Thousand Spirit sect's inheritance. If Wang Daoyuan killed a foundation establishment cultivator of the Thousand Spirit sect, he might not be pursued. But if he dared to openly show off the Thousand Spirit sect's inheritance, it would be a slap to the Thousand Spirit sect's face. For Wang Daoyuan, this secret manual was a timely help. The long-tailed bees in the space of the spirit pearl had yet to recognize him as their master. Besides producing honey, the long-tailed bees could also be of help in fights. Unfortunately, there was no way to make them recognize him as their master. This group of long-tailed bees also did not listen to his commands. It was good enough that they did not attack him when he released them. Now that he had the secret manual of spirit taming, he could make the long-tailed bee king recognize him as its master. There was too little honey in the space, so the long-tailed bee's population was severely limited. If he could make the bee king recognize him as its master, he could release the bees and let them collect honey in the outside world, expanding the population. The terrifying thing about spirit insects was their large numbers. In the future, when there was a new bee king, they could divide the bees into groups, and the divided bees could be handed over to the clan, There was also an animal skin book. When he opened it, the words, 10,000 Spirit Atlas, were written on the first page. Looking at the name, he knew that it was something from the Thousand Spirit sect. It was another hot potato. This animal skin book was only 2 or 3 inches thick, but it recorded a lot of content. The content was not written on the animal skin, but imprinted on it with divine sense. Each page was equivalent to a jade slip. This 10,000 Spirit Atlas recorded the information of various spirit beasts, including their appearance, habits, talents, and so on. The book was divided into 4 chapters: spirit beasts, spirit birds, spirit insects, and water spirits. It explained the land beasts, birds, spirit insects, and water beasts respectively. Wang Daoyuan opened the water spirits chapter and quickly found the introduction of the Qing River carp. It even mentioned that he had caught the Qing River carp. This book was updated in real time. It suddenly felt like a television or newspaper in his previous world. After that, he opened the Spirit Insects chapter to find records about long-tailed bees. He flipped to the end and found it. Of course, this type of bee was not called long-tailed bees, but soul-chasing bees. This type of spirit bee was only discovered 100 years ago. It was discovered by a golden core elder of the Thousand Spirit sect when he was traveling in the depths of the sky/mountain range. Because this type of spirit bee was discovered not long ago, there was not much information about its habits and potential. It could only be confirmed that this type of spirit bee was related to the spirit-seeking bee and might have mutated from it. The spirit-seeking bee, as its name suggested, liked to find spiritual objects with rich spirit qi, including spiritual herbs, spiritual materials, and so on. It could help its master find treasures, so it was jokingly called the treasure-seeking bee. This bee was slender and flew very fast. It was good at finding high-grade spiritual herbs, so the quality of its honey was very high. The spirit-seeking bee was similar in appearance to the spirit-seeking bee, but it was bigger than the spirit-seeking bee. Its body and wings were slender and its flying speed was faster. It still had the hobby of finding spiritual objects, but the quality of the spiritual honey it produced was far inferior to that of the spirit-seeking bee. It could only be ranked in the middle of the same level of spiritual honey. The spirit-seeking bee did not like to fight. It would not take the initiative to attack people except near the hive. The spirit-seeking bee was different. It was a proper militant and often attacked humans and beasts. Its teeth and stinger were very sharp, and its toxicity was also quite good. Once attacked, the whole group of spirit-seeking bees would fight to the death with the attacker. In addition, this thing was good at finding spiritual objects, could remember the smell of the attacker, and had an extremely fast flying speed, so it was named the spirit-seeking bee. This spirit-seeking bee was discovered in the last 100 years and was so valuable. How could the Thousand Spirit sect let it wander outside? It was such a good thing to kill an assassin. Could it be that the assassin was also from the Thousand Spirit sect? Maybe he was the descendant of the Thousand Spirit sect elder. Wang Daoyuan was a little speechless. This was going against the Thousand Spirit sect. Originally, he wanted to wait for the spirit-seeking bee to be divided into groups and hand it over to the family. Now, it seemed that it was related to the Thousand Spirit sect again. It was better not to take it out, lest it was misunderstood to have something to do with the Thousand Spirit sect. He noticed that the spirit-seeking bee could find people and objects based on smell. Chapter 46. Now that the 12th uncle and the others were out there, it was a good time to let the soul-chasing bees go out to find them. From the secret manual of spirit controlling, he found the method to make spiritual bees recognize a master. To control the spiritual bees, he only needed to make the queen bee recognize him as its master. The method was also simple. He just needed to catch the queen bee and make it obedient. Then, there were many ways to make it obedient. Wang Daoyuan was too lazy to waste time to cultivate feelings. His divine sense entered the space and forcibly pulled the queen bee out of the hive. Then, he used his divine sense that was comparable to a peak chi refining stage cultivator to suppress it. Most spiritual insects relied on their large numbers to maintain their combat power. Individually, their divine sense and spiritual energy were very weak. A first-stage mid-grade queen bee had no power to resist Wang Daoyuan at all. The queen bee was stunned. If its intelligence was higher, it would probably have some questions. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Anyone would be dumbfounded by this. It was eating hot pot in the hive, or eating honey and singing when it was suddenly robbed by a force and dragged to such an unfamiliar place. There was also a person who was so powerful that it had no desire to resist. Before Wang Daoyuan could launch a soul attack on it, the queen bee expressed its submission. Wang Daoyuan followed the process of the master recognition secret technique and forced out a drop of blood essence and dripped it on the queen bee's head. Then, he used the secret technique to establish a master-servant relationship. The secret technique was very successful. Wang Daoyuan and the queen bee had a divine sense communication. Through divine sense, he could give orders to the queen bee. After recognizing him as its master, the queen bee could understand Wang Daoyuan's orders. In addition, as long as Wang Daoyuan wanted, his divine sense could make the queen bee suffer. If Wang Daoyuan died, the queen bee would die without a doubt. And if the queen bee died, Wang Daoyuan would not be affected at all. After making all the preparations, Wang Daoyuan asked Grand Elder Wang Jiren to go out and find the 12th uncle. During this critical period, Wang Jiren was worried that Qin Yu would encounter danger. But then he thought about Qin Yu's battle record. If he encountered an opponent below the Foundation establishment realm, Wang Jiren would be able to protect himself, so he wasn't worried. Wang Daoyuan didn't have much to do on Jade Spring Peak, so going out to help would increase the chances of finding Wang Shui. Therefore, he agreed to Wang Daoyuan's request. Wang Daoyuan left the Jade Spring Peak and headed northwest for 1,000 li, entering Mount Huiyan. He found a cave and hid inside. His divine sense entered the spiritual pearl space and took out a jar of scarlet blood brew. He brought out 100 ordinary soul-chasing bees and let them smell the scarlet blood brew. Then, through the Wasp King, he ordered them to search for people with the smell of scarlet blood brew within 1,000 miles. Once they found them, they were not to attack, but to report their location. 100 soul-chasing peaks spread out in all directions, their speed comparable to that of a first-tier Foundation establishment cultivator flying on a sword. As expected of a soul-chasing wasp. It only had a rank 1 low-grade cultivation, but it had such a terrifying speed. 4 hours later, all the soul-chasing bees returned. One of the soul-chasing bees reported that there was the smell of scarlet blood brew 800 li to the north, but it didn't find anyone nearby. Wang Daoyuan recalled the other soul-chasing bees into the space to rest. He also rewarded the soul-chasing bee with some spiritual honey, and ordered it to lead the way to the place where the smell of scarlet blood brew was found. The speed of the soul-chasing bees was really too fast. Wang Daoyuan used a spirit travel talisman on himself, but he still couldn't keep up with the speed of the soul-chasing bees. He used all his strength to activate the wind-treading boots on his feet, causing the soul-chasing bees to slow down a bit. Only then did he manage to keep up. 4 hours later, Wang Daoyuan finally arrived at the place where the smell of scarlet blood brew was found. With Wang Daoyuan's sense of smell, he couldn't smell anything at all. He then released 100 soul-chasing bees from the space, and ordered them to search for people with the smell of scarlet blood brew within 1,000 li. 3 hours later, one of the soul-chasing bees returned, reporting that there was a person with the smell of scarlet blood brew hiding in a crack in a rock 700 li to the east. Wang Daoyuan hurriedly asked the soul-chasing bee whether the person was dead or alive. After receiving the reply that the person was still alive, Wang Daoyuan was overjoyed and immediately ordered the soul-chasing bee to lead the way. In less than 4 hours, Wang Daoyuan arrived in front of the rock crack. He used his divine sense to explore it and found that Wang Shui was still hiding inside. He recalled the soul-chasing bee that had found Wang Shui into the space and rewarded it with 50 grams of spiritual honey. The soul-chasing bee carried a lump of spiritual honey that was much larger than its body and happily ran around the space. He shouted towards the crack, "12th uncle, I'm Daoyuan. I'm here to find you." Wang Shui didn't let down his guard and replied, "How can you prove that you're Daoyuan?" Wang Daoyuan directly took out a jar of scarlet blood brew, opened the jar, and fanned it towards the rock crack. "If you don't come out, I'll drink this jar of scarlet blood brew in one gulp." Wang Shui smelled the aroma of the scarlet blood brew and immediately determined that it was brewed using his own recipe. The person who came was indeed Wang Daoyuan. He shouted with his still weak voice, "Stinky brat, how dare you tease your uncle? Leave this jar of scarlet blood brew for me. If you miss even a sip, see how I'll deal with you." Wang Shui crawled out of the crack. His Taoist robe was tattered and stained with blood. His hair was unkempt and his face was dirty. He seemed to be unkempt normally. Apart from his pale face, Wang Daoyuan couldn't see any difference from his usual sloppy appearance. As soon as he crawled out, he snatched the wine jar and made a dong 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 sound. This behavior was exactly like Mao Xiong, who hadn't drunk alcohol for a year in his previous life and saw a bottle of vodka. 5 kilograms of wine was emptied in a short while. It was unknown whether it was the healing effect of the scarlet blood brew or a psychological effect, but Wang Shui's complexion instantly returned to normal and his spirit returned. His previous appearance wasn't because he was heavily injured, but because he lacked wine. Wang Shui laughed sinisterly. "Good nephew, give your uncle another jar. If I drink another jar, I'll be able to return to my peak condition." Cough cough. Wang Daoyuan had a helpless expression on his face. "You should calm down for a while. The two of us are running for our lives, not going out for a walk. Quickly returning home is the most important thing. Right now, everyone in the family is as anxious as ants on a hot pan. If you want to drink wine, I'll give you 10 jars of scarlet blood brew." Wang Shui thought of the important matter and said, "Then let's go home. Don't forget to give me 10 jars of scarlet blood brew." Wang Daoyuan silently cursed. Was my main point about the scarlet blood brew? The journey home was uneventful. When they returned to Jade Spring Peak, Wang Jiza had already returned. Because he couldn't find Wang Shui, he and the other elders all had sullen faces. When they saw Wang Daoyuan and Wang Shui walk in, everyone was a little stunned. The memorial service was about to start, but in the end, they came back unscathed. When they came to their senses, their crying faces instantly turned into smiling faces. Several pairs of eyes stared at Wang Shui and surrounded him, asking him all sorts of questions. Wang Jiza coughed softly and asked, "Shui, tell me how you escaped." Wang Shui felt Wang Jiza's aura and was shocked. "Granduncle, you've recovered?" "After I left the battlefield, I used an earth evasion talisman to escape several hundred li away. I only dared to come out after using it. I didn't expect to run into a foundation building cultivator as soon as I came out. He chased me for several hundred li, and in the end, I used all my life-saving trump cards to kill that guy. That guy was only at the first layer of the foundation building realm. He couldn't even break my defense with a single sword attack. If he was a veteran foundation building cultivator, I really wouldn't have been able to come back. After killing that foundation building cultivator, I was also seriously injured. I hid in a crack in a rock to recover. I hid there for 3 days, and in the end, I was found by Daoyuan. The heavens are really protecting my Wang family. 2 foundation building cultivators were killed instead, Wang Jiza said with relief. Who else killed a foundation building cultivator? Wang Shui asked. Chapter 47. I killed an idiot who had just reached foundation establishment and didn't even know the sword kinesis technique. He wasn't smart enough and chased me for more than 1,000 miles, but I killed him instead, Wang Daoyuan replied. Daoyuan, you're amazing. It's unheard of for a 7th-level Qi refinement cultivator to kill a foundation establishment cultivator. Quickly take out a few jars of wine and celebrate. Your goal was the bar? Wang Daoyuan said disdainfully. Wang Jiza smiled and asked, Shui is so good at hiding. Daoyuan, how did you find him? Wang Daoyuan had expected this question and immediately answered, I killed that foundation establishment cultivator and obtained a secret method to find people. However, this secret method is related to the Thousand Spirit sect. If it's leaked, the Wang family will be destroyed. Therefore, I can't hand it over to the family for the time being. Please forgive me. In addition, there's also a foundation establishment cultivation technique and a spell. They're not directly inherited from the Thousand Spirit sect, but I can hand them over to the family. After saying that, Wang Daoyuan took out the Earth Origin Technique and Earth-Shaking Technique jade slips and handed them to Wang Jiza. Wang Jiza took the jade slips and scanned them with his divine sense. He knew that these cultivation techniques were quite good. Apart from the water attribute cultivation techniques, the Wang family didn't have much else. The Earth Origin Technique was even better than the Earth attribute cultivation techniques collected by the family. Therefore, he handed the 2 jade slips to the first elder and instructed, These cultivation techniques are indeed good. They can be cultivated to the peak of foundation establishment. They're much stronger than the cultivation techniques of the same attribute collected by the family. Jiren, give Daoyuan 2,000 contribution points. Wang Jiren took the jade slips and placed them in the technique pavilion. Grandfather. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, "There's no limit to the number of times I can use this secret method. It won't harm me and can continue to find others. As long as there's an item with its scent, I can find the person." Wang Jiza was overjoyed and immediately ordered, "Quickly order someone to bring the personal belongings of Jian, Jiming, and the others." Not long after, Wang Daoyuan received the personal belongings of his 8 granduncles. After bidding farewell to everyone, he left Jade Spring Peak and headed northwest. Wang Daoyuan was a foundation-building cultivator. Once he was hunted down, he would have run far away in such a long time. With Wang Daoyuan's speed, it would have taken him years to find him. Therefore, Wang Daoyuan first looked for the other granduncles, and then the patriarch. As for the other 7 people, they would first look for the 12th uncle according to their importance to the family. After releasing the soul-chasing bees and searching for half a day, they finally found the body of the 12th uncle under a cliff. He had been dead for 2 or 3 days. Looking at the wounds all over his body, he should have been besieged by a group of chi refinement cultivators. Unable to defeat them, he jumped off the cliff and eventually died from blood loss. The 12th uncle was obsessed with alchemy and was not good at fighting. Apart from the few poisons he had refined himself, he had no other means to fight the enemy. More than half of the pills sold by the clan came from him. A few years ago, the family was suppressed by many parties and could not make ends meet. It was all thanks to the efforts of the 12th uncle and the 9th uncle, who desperately refined pills and talismans to earn spirit stones. They barely managed to maintain the family's morale. His lifelong wish was to become a rank 3 pill refinement master and leave behind an alchemy legacy for the family. Unfortunately, due to the burden of the family's financial situation, he never had the time to improve his alchemy skills. Since 4 years ago, the family's situation had improved and there was a lot of surplus every year. The family had the financial resources to support his improvement. Unfortunately, he only lived a good life for 4 years before he met with this unexpected disaster. In the wilderness, there was no condition to bury him. He could only take out a few talismans to cover his face and temporarily store him in the space of the spiritual pearl. He would be buried properly when he returned to the Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daoyuan did not have time to be sad. He could only suppress his emotions and continue to search for the whereabouts of the other 6 granduncles. The death of the 12th uncle gave Wang Daoyuan a bad feeling. A pill refinement master who was not good at fights of magical powers was besieged by several chi refinement cultivators. The other 6 granduncles were older and weaker. Their chances of survival were very slim. Wang Daoyuan spent 10 days to find all 6 granduncles. Unfortunately, none of them survived. He also tried to use the soul-chasing peak to search for traces of the clan leader. However, the clan leader was a foundation establishment cultivator. Even if he escaped, he would use sword kinesis flight. The scent he left behind would also be in the air. A gust of wind would leave nothing behind. Taking the bodies of the 7 granduncles, he bought 7 coffins in a town of mortals within the family's territory and temporarily placed the bodies. This town was called Linha Town. It was located on the banks of the Clearly River and was only a few dozen kilometers away from the Jade Spring Peak. The mortals in the town were mostly members of the Wang family, the descendants of Wang Chengzu. Seeing that the cultivators in the family had passed away, many people helped to clean up the bodies and set up a mourning hall to pay respects to the 7 granduncles. The town was overseen by the family's cultivators. These people were usually the same as the 6 granduncles. They didn't have good cultivation talent and didn't have any special skills. They were placed in the family's mortal settlements to protect the family and fend off monster beasts. Wang Daoyuan asked the overseeing cultivators to look after the bodies of the 7 granduncles while he rushed back to the Jade Spring Peak to report the news. According to the family's rules, if a clansman died in battle outside, as long as the body could be recovered, the clan leader and the elders would personally take them home and bury them in the ancestral grave behind the Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daoyuan wore a white cloth on his head to mourn for the 7 granduncles. As soon as he arrived at the Jade Spring Peak, a clansman came forward to ask which granduncle had passed away. Wang Daoyuan didn't reply and went straight to the executive hall. Wang Jiza and Wang Jiren were both there. Seeing Wang Daoyuan wearing mourning clothes, Wang Jiza asked, "Who is it?" Wang Daoyuan couldn't hold it in anymore and burst into tears. The clan leader couldn't be found. The bodies of the other 7 granduncles are all in Linhe market. Wang Jiren also started crying. Wang Jize raised his head and closed his eyes without saying anything, but 2 lines of tears still flowed down uncontrollably. Wang Jize had watched the 7 granduncles grow up. Wang Jize was already more than 150 years old and had never married or had children. In his eyes, the Ji generation were all his children. Now that 7 of them had passed away, it was like a white-haired man sending off his black-haired children. Wang Jize wiped away his tears and ordered, "Inform all the clansmen to go down the mountain and take them home together." The descendants of the 7 granduncles wore mourning clothes and walked at the front. Although 7th uncle Wang Shouhong wasn't a descendant of the 12th uncle, he learned the art of pill concocting from the 12th uncle. A teacher for a day, a father for life. He also wore mourning clothes like the sons of the 12th uncle. He held a mourning staff in his hand and carried a soul-summoning banner. Wang Jize led the elders and followed behind the filial sons. Wang Daoyuan and the other juniors carried all kinds of items and followed at the back. Generally, when a clan member passed away, unless it was the clan leader or elders, the clan wouldn't hold a memorial ceremony. The Wang clan inherited the rules left behind by Wang Chengzu. Like the mortals of the secular world, the entire clan held a memorial ceremony for the deceased. It was also because of this that the Wang clan was extremely cohesive. For hundreds of years, there were very few clan members who betrayed the clan. When the cultivators of the Wang clan arrived at Linhe market, there were already many mortals who came to pay their respects. Regardless of whether they were mortals or cultivators, the filial sons returned the greetings one by one. A day later, the number of people who came to pay their respects gradually decreased. Wang Jize touched the 7 coffins one by one and shouted in a low voice, "Children, let's go home." The filial sons led the way in front. Wang Daoyuan and the cultivators of the Dao and Shou generations carried the coffins back to Yuchuan Peak. After returning to Yuchuan Peak, they placed the 7 coffins in the ancestral hall for 7 days. The entire Yuchuan Peak was in mourning for 3 months in all the buildings and caves. After 7 days, the bodies of the deceased would be cremated by the clan leader or elders and buried in the ancestral grave at the back of the mountain. The reason why they had to be cremated was to prevent heretic cultivators from stealing the corpses of cultivators and using them as materials for refining corpses. In order to strengthen the evil aura of refining corpses, heretic cultivators would make them kill their blood relatives. Not only could the deceased not rest in peace, but they would also bring disaster to their clansmen. Chapter 48. While the coffins were being paused, 9th great-uncle Wang Jide made a special trip back to Jade Spring Peak to send off his old brothers on their final journey. After the worship, Wang Jize held a family meeting. Wang Daoyuan was allowed to sit in as a witness. Wang Jide reported the information he had gathered. Rumor has it that this battle was a trap set up by Cruel Sun Palace and Thousand Spirit Sect. First, the Myriad Spirit Sect sent people to command the scattered demon beasts in the mountains to attack the Netherworld Sect's caravans passing by, luring the Netherworld Sect's cultivators to encircle and annihilate them. The Myriad Spirit Sect and the Cruel Sun Palace's cultivators turned around and annihilated the Netherworld Sect's cultivators. According to a Qi disciple loose cultivator who participated in the battle, when the spirit insects attacked, he ran west and was intercepted by Cruel Sun Palace's cultivators. When he turned east, he was intercepted by Thousand Spirit Sect's disciples. This loose cultivator's strength was outstanding. He broke through the encirclement and escaped. He temporarily settled down in Qingli Market. This news was heard from him. What was the situation after that? Wang Jize asked. According to a Foundation establishment loose cultivator who escaped, Cruel Sun Palace and Thousand Spirit Sect recruited loose cultivators in large numbers. They gathered several Aurus core cultivators, 20 to 30 Zifu disciples, no less than 300 Foundation establishment cultivators and countless Qi disciple cultivators. They wanted to completely cut off the trade between Netherworld Sect and the demon race. However, Netherworld Sect had already received the news. In addition to the 3 Zifu disciples on the surface, there were 4 Aurus core cultivators lying in ambush. However, they did not recruit loose cultivators on a large scale. The number of Foundation establishment and Qi disciple cultivators was far less than the other side. In addition, Thousand Spirit Sect and Cruel Sun Palace were in the dark while Netherworld Sect was in the light. At first, Netherworld Sect suffered a great loss and was forced to let all their Qi disciple cultivators leave. This was exactly what the enemy wanted. They sent Qi disciple and Foundation establishment cultivators to kill a large number of Qi disciple cultivators. Our Wang family's loss was considered small. Many families were wiped out. It was said that Netherworld sex cultivators were heavily targeted. The exact number of casualties was unknown. After the Qi disciple cultivators left, the Foundation establishment cultivators and Zifu disciples of both sides started a great battle. Netherworld sex side did not have the advantage in numbers and suffered a great loss. Afterwards, they retreated to Gold Goose City and relied on the city's defenses to barely hold on. During the retreat, more than 100 Foundation establishment cultivators were killed, while 2 Zifu disciples were injured as well. However, the Netherworld sect is fighting on their home ground, and their mountain gate is only tens of thousands of miles away from the Golden Goose City. With the continuous support of the Netherworld sect, both sides have returned to the balance. Everyone fell into deep thought. Wang Daoyuan felt that something was wrong. He cupped his hands to Wang Jiza and the other elders and said, "Taigong elders, may I ask ninth great uncle a few questions?" Wang Jiza nodded and said, "All right, ask away." Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands towards Wang Jida and said, "Ninth granduncle, what grandson wants to ask is, the latest news you received was from a few days ago. Did a big battle break out? What's the situation?" "The latest news is from 3 days ago," Wang Jida stroked his long beard and pondered. 3 days ago, the two sides were still confronting each other in Jinyan City, and there was no war between Jindan stage cultivators. Wang Daoyuan was suddenly enlightened. "I was wondering why I felt that something was wrong. So that's why." Everyone was puzzled. Wang Shui pondered for a moment and seemed to have understood something. Wang Jiza smiled and said, "Daoyuan, don't keep me in suspense. What did you discover? Tell us." Wang Daoyuan pondered for a moment and said, "This big battle started in the territory of the Netherworld sect. Normally, the Thousand Spirit sect should have finished the battle quickly and left after the battle. It is reasonable to chase and kill them all the way to expand the battle results. However, the Cruel Sun Palace and the Thousand Spirit sect have been planning for several years. They are fully prepared and have the advantage in strength, but they did not try their best to intercept and kill them. Instead, they let the Netherworld sect smoothly retreat into the Golden Goose City. This is the first abnormality. The second abnormality is that the Netherworld sect retreated into the Golden Goose City. With the city defense formation as support, the Thousand Spirit sect could not take it down in a short time. According to common sense, they should retreat at this time, because the reinforcements of the Netherworld sect may come at any time. At that time, the Thousand Spirit sect and the Cruel Sun Palace may be completely wiped out. The third abnormality is that the Thousand Spirit sect not only did not retreat, but also did not attack the Golden Goose City. This may be a siege, but the reinforcements of the Netherworld sect were not ambushed. It can be seen that the Thousand Spirit sect and the Cruel Sun Palace may play a big game, using the cultivators outside the Golden Goose City as bait to catch the big fish, the Netherworld sect. As for how to catch this big fish, there is too little information, so I can't see it. Daoyuan's words are reasonable, but the Thousand Spirit sect and the Cruel Sun Palace do not have the ability to catch fish. Wang Shui continued, "I also thought that the two sects would attract the high-level cultivators of the Netherworld sect to the Golden Goose City and do their best to completely destroy the Netherworld sect. But as far as I know, the Cruel Sun Palace neighbors the Wei Kingdom to the west and has a lot of conflicts with the Wei Kingdom. The Thousand Spirit sect neighbors the Song Kingdom to the south and often fights with the Song Kingdom. Therefore, the two sects will not do their best to find trouble with the Netherworld sect, unless they are not afraid of being destroyed by the forces of the Song Kingdom and the Wei Kingdom. The two sects will send at most half of their forces. Among the three major sects, the Netherworld sect is ranked second, the other two are ranked first and third respectively, each sending half of their forces, which is about the same strength as the Netherworld sect. Their strength is about the same, and the Netherworld sect is fighting in their home territory. The other two sects will be lucky if they do not suffer losses. They do not have the ability to destroy the Netherworld sect. I think the two sects may want to divert the Netherworld sect's main force in the Golden Goose City, and then sneak attack other places. As for where the sneak attack will be, I don't know. We also don't know where the Netherworld sect's vital points are. They can't possibly attack the Netherworld sect's mountain gate, right?" Wang Shui's words were reasonable and convincing, and everyone nodded to show their agreement. Suddenly, a message came from the communication Jade Talisman. "Received the news 2 days ago. the leaders of the Thousand Spirit sect in the Cruel Sun Palace brought 5 golden core cultivators, 20 Zifu realm cultivators, and more than 200 foundation building cultivators to attack the Netherworld sect's mountain gate. Everyone looked at Wang Shui with a strange expression. Wang Shui blushed and said, "Well, Daoyuan, when will you return the 10 jars of red blood wine you owe me?" Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "You are changing the topic, why are you so stiff?" 12th uncle. Have you been blessed by the gods? What do you say? Wang Daoxing on the side interrupted. Well, this is just a coincidence. Let's continue to talk about business. Wang Jiza helped Wang Shui to smooth things over. I don't understand. Why did the other 2 sects attack the Netherworld sect's mountain gate? The Netherworld sect has been established for thousands of years, not to mention its foundation, just the mountain protection formation, plus the golden core elders in the sect. Even if the other 2 sects used all their strength, it would be impossible to quickly take it down. Less than half of the people came. How could it be possible to take it down? It can't really be because of the 12th uncle's mouth, right? Wang Daoyuan said doubtfully. Daoyuan, that's enough. If you mention this again, I will let you know my methods. Wang Daoyuan glanced at him contemptuously and said in his heart, Your strongest method is to cheat wine. What other methods do you have? Wang Shui saw Wang Daoyuan's eyes and expression and knew what he was thinking. He only wanted to drag him over, beat him up, and then snatch the jars of wine. But the situation was not suitable, so he endured it first and settled the score later. Chapter 49. The actions of the Thousand Spirit sect and the Cruel Sun Palace confused everyone in the Wang family. They couldn't figure out what these people wanted to do. They learned that the cultivators who participated in the Battle of the Guiyan Valley were still fighting in the Golden Goose City, and Wang Daoyuan didn't find any trace of the clan leader. The clan leader was probably still fighting in the Golden Goose City, so everyone was temporarily relieved. After the meeting, Wang Daoyuan returned to his cave residence. The Jade Dragon Spring was the spiritual eye of the Jade Spring Peak spiritual vein, and the spiritual energy was rich. The Jade Dragon Stream originated from the Jade Dragon Spring, and the stream water also contained a lot of spiritual energy. Therefore, most cultivators' cave residences were on the banks of the Jade Dragon Stream, and Wang Daoyuan's cave residence was no exception. The land next to the cave residence had been soaked by the stream for many years, and there was a small amount of spiritual energy in the soil. Although it couldn't be considered a spiritual field, it wasn't a problem to plant some low-level spiritual herbs, but the growth might not be too good. However, Wang Daoyuan didn't care about this. He planted some red blood ginseng, yellow cloudgrass and so on the flat ground near the cave residence. He didn't expect to have any harvest, and the main purpose was to deceive people. When he first discovered the space of the spiritual pearl, he got the spiritual herb seeds from the 12th uncle. He was worried that they wouldn't survive, so he didn't waste the seeds near the cave residence. Now the spiritual herbs had multiplied for several generations in the space, and there were so many seeds that he couldn't use them all up, so he didn't care. The 3 major sects of Zhao were currently in a chaotic war, and it was an eventful time. In this chaotic world, the price of elixirs, magic tools, talismans and other materials would definitely skyrocket. If he didn't make more talismans to sell now, when would he? Not only talismans, but the spiritual herbs needed for the spirit gathering pill in the space had also been harvested. It was time to find someone to refine the spirit gathering pill. He originally wanted the 12th uncle to help him refine it, but unfortunately, the 12th uncle was killed, so he could only find the best alchemist in the family. 7th uncle Wang Shouhong. With Wang Shouhong's level of alchemy, there wasn't much difference between him and a second-rank alchemist. The threshold to become a second-rank alchemist was to refine a second-rank elixir with a success rate of no less than 30%. And a first-rank alchemist usually needed to refine a first-rank elixir with a success rate of over 50%. And Wang Shouhong was only one step away from this standard. Therefore, the 12th uncle had always disagreed with him refining level 2 medicinal pills. After all, the spiritual herbs required to concoct a grade 2 pill were too expensive. If one were to forcefully concoct a grade 2 pill without reaching the standard, that would be equivalent to burning spirit stones. Previously, most of the materials that the clan could provide for alchemy came from their own spiritual fields, and a small portion was purchased from outside. There weren't many spirit fields in the family to begin with, and a large portion of them were used to plant spirit grains. The remaining spirit fields were used to plant rank 2 spirit herbs as much as possible. The pill refining materials that Wang Shouhong could obtain were very limited. Otherwise, he would have long become a Tier 2 alchemist. He had the skills but no practice materials. Wang Daoyuan had the materials but no skills. The two of them could be said to be natural partners. Wang Daoyuan took out some of the spiritual herbs stored in the spiritual bead storage space. It was enough for about 100 spirit-gathering pills. A set of alchemy materials could at most refine 10 pills. With Wang Shouhong's alchemy skills, he should be able to refine nearly 500 pills. Wang Shouhong was in his cave dwelling, thinking about how to improve his alchemy skills to the lowest standard for refining grade 2 pills. He didn't hear the knocking at the door at all. If it wasn't for Wang Daoyuan using his divine sense to confirm that there was someone inside, he would have already left. That was until Wang Daoyuan used an Earth Escape talisman and directly entered the cave dwelling. The movement of the Earth Escape talisman startled Wang Shouhong. He turned around and saw Wang Daoyuan. He was startled and scolded. "Why didn't you knock if you wanted something from me?" "Seventh uncle, I've been knocking for a quarter of an hour. You didn't hear me, so I could only use this method. I was a bit lost in thought. Are the elders looking for me?" "That's not it. I'm looking for you. I want to talk business with you." "What business?" "Your seventh uncle doesn't have many spirit stones, and I don't know how to do business." "Don't cheat your seventh uncle." "How could I? I have a batch of alchemy materials that I want seventh uncle to help me refine. How about we split it 30 to 70? How many materials do you have?" Wang Shouhong asked excitedly. Seeing Wang Shouhong's excited expression, Wang Daoyuan secretly thought that there was a chance and quickly replied, 100 sets of spirit pill materials. If you need more, I can go get some more." Wang Shouhong was overjoyed and said, "Seventh uncle won't hide it from you. I'm still a bit away from breaking through to second-grade alchemist, and I've been thinking hard about how to make up for it. You also know that the family supply of spirit pills can't keep up. The Tao of alchemy is 30% talent and 70% resources. Without spirit pills to practice, how can one improve? Your 100 sets of materials will be a great help to me. To be honest, seventh uncle has never seen so many alchemy materials in one go. I won't ask for a share and will refine for you for free." "Seventh uncle, don't be like this. I'm looking for you to refine alchemy because the current situation is turbulent. The price of various cultivation resources is skyrocketing. I want you to refine alchemy for me. If you refine for me for free, how can I have the face to look for you in the future?" The two pushed back and forth and finally decided on a 20-80 split. Wang Daoyuan couldn't stay idle either. He still had a few hundred pieces of high-grade Tier 1 talisman paper and enough spiriting from the last purchase. Wang Daoyuan only cultivated water attribute cultivation methods. When making water attribute spirit talismans, he would use his spiritual sense as a guide and pour his own spirit qi into it. If there were no mistakes in the middle, a spirit talisman would be completed. If he wanted to make spirit talismans of other attributes, Wang Daoyuan didn't have the corresponding spirit qi in his body. He would have to draw spirit qi from the outside world and pour it into the spirit talisman when he was drawing the talisman. Drawing spirit qi from the outside world and providing spirit qi from one's own spirit qi couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. Not only did it increase the process of drawing spirit qi, but it also increased the production time. It also led to an increase in the error rate and the consumption of spiritual sense. Drawing spirit qi from spirit stones consumed a lot less spiritual sense and was faster. However, the cost was also not a joke. Wang Daoyuan wasn't willing to be so wasteful. He could make Tier 1 high-grade water attribute spirit talismans. On the basis of not affecting the success rate, he could make at most 25 or 26 pieces a day. The success rate was no less than 60%. As for making other spirit talismans of other attributes, he could make at most 20 pieces a day. The success rate was only about 50%. However, because water attribute spirit talismans were not very good in both offense and defense, Wang Daoyuan had to make a large number of spirit talismans of other attributes. Of course, this was for his own use. He needed to take care of all aspects and have all kinds of spirit talismans of different attributes. The spirit talismans for sale didn't need to be so troublesome. They mainly used water attribute spirit talismans and a small number of spirit talismans of other attributes. It saved time and effort. Wang Daoyuan's success rate of making Tier 1 high-grade spirit talismans was no less than ninth uncle Wang Zhida. His spiritual sense was not much worse than his, but he couldn't make Tier 2 spirit talismans at all. Due to the limitation of his realm, his ability to control spirit qi was insufficient. The spirit qi Wang Daoyuan mobilized at once was not enough to make a Tier 2 low-grade spirit talisman. Talisman making had to be done in one go. Insufficient spirit qi would directly lead to failure. Generally speaking, to become a Tier 2 low-grade spirit talisman master, the lowest cultivation level was the peak of qi refining. However, Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense was now comparable to the general peak of qi refining. The strength of spiritual sense could make up for the deficiency of the realm to a certain extent. At the 8th level of qi refining, his spiritual sense could surpass most of the peak of qi refining, and he could barely mobilize enough spirit qi to make Tier 2 low-grade spirit talismans. Chapter 50. 10 days had passed, and Wang Daoyuan had made more than 100 talismans. Wang Shouhong had finished refining 100 sets of materials and had produced more than 450 pills. The success rate was still less than 50%. Theoretically, one set of materials could produce at most 10 pills. Of course, it was difficult to reach this level, so the success rate was calculated based on the ratio of the number of pills produced to the maximum number. In theory, 100 sets of ingredients could produce 1,000 pills. Only by producing 500 pills would he have a 50% success rate. Wang Shouhong came personally to refine 100 sets of materials in 10 days. He did not even have time to eat or sleep, let alone wash up. Coupled with the smoke and fire from refining pills, his entire person had changed. 100 sets of materials and he still did not reach the goal, so he was naturally in a bad mood. He handed the 80% pills to Wang Daoyuan with a bitter face and turned to leave. Wang Daoyuan took the pills and asked, "Seventh uncle, why are you so dispirited?" "Sigh. 12th uncle passed away, and there is no rank 2 pill refinement master in the family. I'm the closest to rank 2 pill refinement master in the family. I used 100 sets of your materials, but I didn't reach the standard to break through to rank 2. I'm ashamed." Wang Daoyuan took out a storage bag and smiled. "Seventh uncle, you don't have to be like this. I still have 100 sets of materials, so I'll continue refining pills. Although I don't know how to refine pills, refining pills and making talismans have similarities. If I'm uneasy, the success rate will inevitably be affected. Seventh uncle, your psychological burden is too heavy, and it will delay the progress of refining pills. These spirit herbs are mine, and I'm just asking you to help me refine pills. Moreover, the spirit gathering pill you just refined is enough for me to use for a few years. I'm not in a hurry to refine pills with these 100 sets of materials. You don't have to pressure yourself. It's not a problem to give me pills in a year." Under Wang Daoyuan's persuasion, Wang Shouhong's mood improved a little, and he returned to the cave abode. Wang Daoyuan continued to craft talismans. 3 days later, Wang Shui came again. As soon as Wang Daoyuan opened the door, Wang Shi said excitedly, "Big nephew, there's news again. Granduncle instructed me to bring you and Daoxing to the meeting. You're the only one left now. How about it? Seeing that your old uncle has personally made a trip here, why don't you give me a jar of wine?" Wang Daoyuan had no choice but to give him a jar of scarlet blood wine. Wang Shi naturally accepted it without hesitation. When they arrived at the meeting hall, Grand Duke Wang Jiza said, "Since everyone is here, I will announce the news that I just received. The Thousand Spirits sect and the Cruel Sun Palace blocked the entrance of the Netherworld sect. The cultivators of the Netherworld sect hid in the protective mountain formation and did not come out. During this period, there were only small-scale battles, and there were no major battles between the Golden Core cultivators. 5 days ago, the Cruel Sun Palace used the spies in the Underworld sect to sneak attack the eye of the defensive formation in an attempt to destroy it. However, the Jindan stage cultivator of the Netherworld sect who was guarding the mountain gate discovered it in advance and killed the hidden guard who destroyed the eye of the formation. Seeing that the matter was exposed, the other spies wantonly destroyed the Netherworld sect. In the spirit fields of the Netherworld sect, many spirit herbs were damaged. In addition, the spirit beast garden of the Netherworld sect was also attacked. Some spirit beasts fled in all directions within the mountain gate, causing a lot of damage. Fortunately, the chaos was quickly quelled, and the spies of the two sects were all killed in the end. The Netherworld sect stabilized the situation. The Thousand Spirits sect and the Cruel Sun Palace's plan did not succeed, and it was impossible to besiege the mountain gate. There was no point in continuing to stay, and it was very likely that they would be attacked by the Netherworld sect, so they all retreated. The cultivators of the two sects outside the Gold Goose City were a bit slow in retreating, and were chased by the cultivators of the Netherworld sect inside the Gold Goose City. 7 Zifu realm cultivators died, and the Netherworld sect also lost 5 Zifu realm elders. The two sides even broke out into a great battle of golden core cultivators, but no golden core cultivators died, and only a few golden core cultivators were injured. This battle could be said to be a loss for both sides. When the two sects retreated, they also looted a spirit stone mine. The Netherworld sect was robbed of more than 1 million spirit stones, and the mine was also destroyed. The three sects divided the Zhao country. The Netherworld sect and the Cruel Sun Palace were north of the Wanchuan River, and the Thousand Spirit sect was south of the Wanchuan River. The Netherworld sect needed to guard against the demonic beasts in the east and north. The Cruel Sun Palace needed to guard against the demonic beasts in the Wei country and Mount Huiyan, and the Thousand Spirit sect needed to guard against the demonic beasts in the Song country and the Heaven/Mountain range. The sects did not have the strength to launch a large-scale attack on the other two forces. Now that the Netherworld sect had reconciled with the demonic beasts in the north of Mount Huiyan, the pressure on the border was greatly reduced, and the demonic beasts in the Heaven/Mountain range were also relatively quiet, and the Netherworld sect also had the ability to attack the other two sections. This time, the Thousand Spirit sect and the Cruel Sun Palace joined forces to deal with the Netherworld sect. First, it was to exhaust the Netherworld sect's strength, and second, it was to show that the two sects had joined forces, so that the Netherworld sect would not dare to act rashly. Wang Shi thought for a moment and said, "Now that the battle is over, the Patriarch should be back soon, right? By the way, Granduncle, do you have any information about how the two sects retreated, including the direction of their retreat? Did they retreat separately or together?" There is a report that after the two sects gathered the cultivators outside the Gold Goose City, they retreated to the southwest, and did not separate. What's wrong? Wang Daoyuan said, if the two sects separated, neither of them would be as strong as the Netherworld sect. The Netherworld sect is likely to take the risk and send people to kill one of them. If the two sects dared to separate, they must have a backup plan, the Netherworld sect. If the Netherworld sect suffered heavy losses, under the suppression of the two sects, I'm afraid it would be difficult to protect its thousands of years of foundation. Now that the two sects have left together, the Netherworld sect does not dare to act rashly. At the same time, it also shows that the two sects do not plan to completely destroy the Netherworld sect, and the alliance is only to make the Netherworld sect not dare to cause trouble. In the future, the three sects will have their own misgivings and will not dare to make any big moves, so that the situation can be avoided, and the state of Zhao can continue to maintain the tripartite balance of power. Only when the situation is stable can our Wang family develop well. Otherwise, once the Netherworld sect collapses, our Wang family may be dealt with by the Cruel Sun Palace. Now that this fierce battle is over, there will be no more battles for the time being, and the Patriarch will not be in danger. The elders were a little confused. With just one report, he could see so many things? However, they felt that what he said made sense. Wang Shui patted Wang Daoyuan's shoulder and laughed. What Daoyuan said coincides with me. What more can a man ask for when he has a confidant in life? What's more, this confidant is my nephew, and his alcohol tolerance is not bad. Daoyuan, let's drink a few jars later. Wang Daoyuan did not pay attention to the 12th uncle's trick of swindling wine. Instead, he said, I bought some spiritual herbs and asked 7th uncle to help me refine pills. I thought that with the three sects fighting, the demand for pills and talismans will increase greatly, so I can make a fortune. Although there will be no more battles now, the Netherworld sect's spiritual fields are damaged. Once the news spreads, the price of spiritual herbs and pills will soar. The family can make some preparations and take the opportunity to make a fortune. However, we can't make it too obvious. After all, the Netherworld sect has just been unlucky. If we make a lot of money, it will be a bit conspicuous. If we make the higher-ups of the Netherworld sect unhappy, the gains will not make up for the losses. Wang Jiza stroked his long beard with a gratified smile on his face. He thought to himself, Ancestor is not good at scheming, So he was involved in the war between the three sects and the Zhao clan, and the family was almost wiped out. After that, the Wang family, as the remnants of the Zhao clan, was schemed against by many other families. When Jian became the patriarch, the entire family had to tuck their tails between their legs. Even I had to hide my cultivation, and the family was suppressed less and less. In the future, with Xueqi and Beiyuan, these two cunning fellows, it would be good if the other forces were not cheated. Chapter 51. Wang Jize was about to announce the end of the meeting when he suddenly sensed someone flying over on a sword. The person was getting closer and closer to the Jade Spring Peak. Wang Jize's divine sense could already see the person's appearance. It was none other than the patriarch, Wang Jian. Wang Jize's domineering aura disappeared and he became amiable again. He said to everyone, "The patriarch is back. Children, let's go and welcome him." Wang Jian landed in front of the meeting hall. Foundation establishment cultivators were supposed to land 1 li away from the Jade Dragon Spring and couldn't fly on their swords. However, the patriarch flew around to calm the people down. Everyone walked out of the meeting hall and said in unison, "Welcome, patriarch." Everyone followed the patriarch into the meeting hall. According to tradition, when the patriarch returned from outside, the elders would report on the family affairs. Wang Jian saw Wang Daoyuan and the other two and asked, "How many of the 10 qi refining cultivators who went out with me came back?" The great elder cupped his hands and said, "Only Shui, Daoxing, and Daoyuan came back. 12th brother and the other 6 brothers didn't come back alive. Their bodies were found by Daoyuan and now they have been buried. I underestimated the enemy. I shouldn't have thrown 12th brother, an alchemist, into the battlefield. Fortunately, Shui came back alive. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the face to see my ancestors after I die." Wang Jian blamed himself. "It's not your fault. No one knew this would happen. Fortunately, the hope of the family is still there." Wang Jize changed the topic. "How's the battle in Golden Goose City?" Wang Jian replied, 5 Zifu realm cultivators in Golden Goose City died, leaving behind 7 Zifu realm cultivators. The Netherworld Sex Foundation establishment cultivators suffered heavy casualties. More than 80 of them died in the battle. The Netherworld sect suffered heavy losses this time. In addition, the subsidiary families also suffered heavy losses. Even the Yang family lost a foundation establishment cultivator. The Myriad Spirit sect and the Crescent Sun Palace weren't doing too well either. Although the two sects shared the losses, and the number of Zifu disciples who died was smaller than that of the Netherworld sect, the number of foundation establishment and key refining cultivators who died in the siege was not small. Most likely, their losses were greater than those of the Netherworld sect. When I came back, I heard that the Netherworld sect's mountain gate was also attacked and suffered heavy losses. However, they took the opportunity to clean up the sect. It's hard to say who suffered more in this battle. In addition, there was another piece of good news. In order to appease the affiliated families, the Underworld sect was preparing to refine the foundation building pills. They would take out 10 pills for auction, and all the affiliated families of the Underworld sect would have the right to bid. If one were to kill an enemy early foundation establishment cultivator in this war, as long as they could produce proof, they would be able to enjoy a 10% discount in the auction for foundation establishment pills. Mid-foundation establishment pills would be 15%, late foundation establishment pills would be 20%. The death of a foundation establishment cultivator in the clan was treated the same as the death of an enemy. This time, I killed 2 middle-stage foundation establishment cultivators, so we can get a foundation establishment pill at a 30% discount. With our family's current wealth, it's still very possible for us to obtain a foundation establishment pill. The auction will be held in Qingli Market 1 year later. We still have 1 year to sell more things in exchange for spiritual stones. Wang Daoyuan thought to himself, the atmosphere of the clan is really steady. They have hidden a foundation establishment cultivator, great-grandpa. On the surface, the strength of the patriarch is at the 3rd layer of the foundation establishment realm, but he was able to kill 2 middle-stage foundation establishment cultivators. This is definitely not killing enemies above his level. The 12th uncle killed enemies above his level. He even used all his trump cards but was still injured. The patriarch, on the other hand, was full of energy. He didn't look injured at all. The Taoist robe on his body was still the same one, without any damage. He killed 2 middle-stage foundation establishment cultivators, so he must have suppressed them with his strength. The patriarch's cultivation level was at least at the middle stage of the foundation establishment realm. This time, he was hunted down by foundation establishment cultivators just because he leaked some money. He still wasn't steady enough. In the future, he had to learn from the steadiness of the clan elders. He absolutely couldn't easily reveal his true strength. Wang Jize glanced at Wang Shui and Wang Daoyuan and said with a smile, "We can buy this foundation establishment pill at half price." Shui and Daoyuan each killed an early-stage foundation establishment cultivator. Is there such a thing? With Shui's means, killing an early-stage foundation establishment cultivator is reasonable. Daoyuan being able to kill a foundation establishment cultivator was beyond my expectations. It's unheard of for a 7th-layer qi refining cultivator to kill a foundation establishment cultivator. Wang Jian said in surprise, "Any cultivator who can kill a foundation establishment cultivator as a qi refining cultivator, as long as they don't die prematurely, is definitely a person of great talent. In our clan, only the old ancestor has done it before. I didn't expect 2 of them to appear all of a sudden. The Wang clan is going to prosper." Now that we can buy the foundation establishment pill at half price, our chances are much higher. Shui, Daoyuan, give me the proof that you killed the foundation establishment cultivators. Their corpses or anything that can prove their identities will do. I'll report it to the elders of the Netherworld sect later. Wang Daoyuan took out a storage bag containing Zhang Deshang's corpse and the identity token. Wang Shui also took out a corpse and a token of the same shape from his storage bag. As expected, the foundation establishment cultivator Wang Shui killed was also a cultivator of the Myriad Spirit sect. The Wang clan's old ancestor had offended the Cruel Sun Palace. Now, Wang Shui and Wang Daoyuan had offended the Myriad Spirit sect. There were also people in the Netherworld sect who wanted to deal with the Wang clan. They really had the whole world as their enemy. Wang Jian put away the corpses of the 2 foundation establishment cultivators. He seemed to have thought of something. Now that we can buy a foundation establishment pill at half price, the clan spent a lot when we bought the Pill Seal Pavilion 4 years ago. We didn't expect to auction foundation establishment pills before, so we didn't save many spirit stones. Currently, we only have a little more than 20,000 spirit stones. In the past, the auction price of foundation establishment pills was between 50,000 and 60,000 spirit stones. Half price was only 30,000 spirit stones, so the gap wasn't big. However, in this war, many of the clan's foundation establishment cultivators died in battle. Many foundation establishment clans only had 1 foundation establishment cultivator. If the foundation establishment cultivator in the clan died, the clan would also fall apart. In order to maintain the clan, there would definitely be people who would use up all their savings to buy foundation establishment pills. In addition, they could buy them at a discount this time, so the price of foundation establishment pills was very likely to be much higher than usual. The clan didn't prepare enough spirit stones before. In order to ensure that we can get a foundation establishment pill, from today until the auction is held, the monthly allowance for adult cultivators will be suspended, and the clan's contribution points will be suspended from exchanging spirit stones. In addition, the clansmen who have mastered the 100 arts of immortal cultivation should also work hard to earn spirit stones in the past year. In addition, we're calling on the clansmen to take out spirit stones, spiritual materials, and spiritual medicines that they can't use for the time being to exchange them for foundation establishment pills. We'll do our best to ensure that the clan can get a foundation establishment pill. The clan's revitalization depends on this. It's a pity that 12th brother isn't here anymore. Otherwise, with him refining rank 2 medicinal pills, the clan would be able to benefit greatly. At this time, Wang Shouhong excitedly ran into the assembly hall. When he saw the clan head in the middle of a meeting with a sad and guilty expression, he said somewhat awkwardly, "Reporting to clan head and elders, I've become a rank 2 concoctions master." "Very good. Jiming has a successor, so I feel a bit better. Quickly go and pay your respects to your 12th uncle so that he can leave with peace of mind. I hope you can inherit your 12th uncle's dying wish and become a rank 3 concoctions master as soon as possible," Wang Jian said with a gratified smile. Wang Shouhong's gaze was firm. "I definitely won't disappoint clan head and 12th uncle." After saying that, he turned around and left the assembly hall to pay his respects to Wang Jiming. "I've said what I wanted to say. If there's nothing else, Then the meeting is adjourned. Let's go about our own business, the clan head said. Wang Daoyuan took a step forward and bowed. Clan head, elders, there's something I have to say. Our clan's goal of integrating into the Netherworld sect is to make changes, right? Chapter 52. The clan leader was very surprised. Why do you say that? Wang Daoyuan replied. From the conflict between the Ghost sect and the Jin clan, it can be seen that the Ghost sect has different attitudes towards us old clans. The Liang clan's ancestor, the Jin clan's ancestor, and the black-robed old man all want to kill us. Elder Lu and Elder Zhou have an ambiguous attitude towards the old clans, neither suppressing nor protecting them. Although the Yang clan's ancestor is protecting them, they dare to use the Yang clan as cannon fodder in the Carriage Gorge battle. What does our Wang clan count for? Moreover, the Ghost sect knew that there was an ambush but didn't reveal it to the affiliated clans. It's clear that they're using the two clans to consume the strength of the affiliated clans. Grandson's words are not for the clan to fight against the Ghost sect, but to remind the clan leader and the elders that even if they successfully integrate into the Ghost sect, it's not all good. Now that the Thousand Spirit sect and the Cruel Sun Palace have joined forces to fight against the Ghost sect, although there won't be a big battle for the time being, it's hard to say what will happen in the future. The Ghost sect doesn't have much of a chance of winning. It's not a wise move for our Wang clan to bet on the Ghost sect. If one doesn't think for the future, there will be immediate troubles. If we don't leave a way out now, once the Ghost sect is defeated in the future, where will our Wang clan go? We can't live under the same sky as the Cruel Sun Palace, and now we've killed a foundation establishment cultivator of the Thousand Spirit sect. At that time, there won't be a place for the Wang clan in Zhao. After listening to Wang Daoyuan's words, everyone in the hall fell into deep thought. Everyone was well aware of the Ghost sect's attitude towards the old clans. They were just weak and didn't have the ability to resist. It wasn't that they didn't think of a way out, but it wasn't easy to find one. To the east of the Jade Spring Peak was the insurmountable Sky Beheading Mountain Range. Demon beasts ran rampant in the mountains. It was said that there were 5th-ranked demon beasts comparable to Yuanian cultivators. Only rogue cultivators roamed around the edges. Any mountain with a spirit vein was occupied by demon beasts. There was no condition to establish a clan. To the south of the Jade Spring Peak was the Qingli River. There were hundreds of mountains with spirit veins, but they all had their own clans belonged to the Ghost sect and couldn't be touched. The Qingli River flowed south and eventually joined the Wanchuan River. South of the Wanchuan River was the territory of the Thousand Spirit sect. If the Wang clan dared to develop in the territory of the Thousand Spirit sect, they would be torn apart by the Underworld sect. To the west was the core area of the Underworld sect, and further west was the Cruel Sun Palace, which was the Wang family's mortal enemy. North of Mount Huiyan was the territory of the North Mountain Demon clan. The north of the mountains was a bitter and cold place. It was not easy for demons to survive there, let alone humans. In addition, the North Mountain Demon tribe was on good terms with the Underworld sect. If the Underworld sect wanted to get rid of the Wang family, the North Mountain Demon tribe would be more than happy to help. Seeing that no one had anything to say, Wang Shi opened his mouth and said, "If the family wants to leave a way out in case of a disaster in the future, I have an idea." "What is Xue's opinion?" Great Elder Wang Jiren asked excitedly. "Tell us quickly." The others also looked anxious. Although they couldn't think of a way out, it didn't mean that they didn't care about the future of their families. Who didn't want to leave a way out for their descendants to ensure that the family's legacy would continue? However, their abilities and knowledge were limited, so they didn't know what to do. Now that Wang Shui said that he had an idea, they naturally wanted to know. Wang Shui didn't keep them in suspense and said 5 words, "The 13 families of Linhai." Everyone in Zhao knew about the 13 families of Linhai. The Wanchuan River was the largest river in Beiyuan Xiuxian. The water flowed from west to east, breaking through the obstruction of the Sky Beheading Mountain Range and flowing into the sea. The river flowed between the mountains of the Sky Beheading Mountain Range. There were dangerous beaches and rapids along the way. After passing through the Sky Beheading Mountain Range, the water flow became gentle. The sand carried by the river was deposited here. After a long time, a vast plain was formed east of the Sky Beheading Mountain Range. When Zhao was founded, Linhai County was established here. The descendants of the main family were given the title of Linhai County Prince to manage Linhai County. However, Linhai County was blocked by mountains and could only be connected through the Wanchuan River. The waterways were filled with dangerous beaches, and there were also aquatic demon beasts causing trouble. The Zhao imperial family couldn't control Linhai County, and it was gradually controlled by the families established by rogue cultivators. After thousands of years, Linhai County was occupied by the 13 families. The Zhao imperial family also became one of the 13 families, the Zhao clan. Each of the 13 families had more than one Violet Palace realm cultivator. The stronger families even had Golden Core realm ancestors. The 13 families intermarried for generations, and their relationships were complicated. Once they joined forces, their strength wasn't inferior to any of the 3 major sections. The 3 major sects destroyed the Zhao clan and massacred the remnants of the Zhao clan. However, they didn't dare to make a move against the Zhao clan, which was a legitimate Zhao imperial family. The strength of the 13 families was evident. Linhai County was located at the mouth of the Wanchuan River. After thousands of years of erosion, their territory grew larger and larger. Furthermore, the Zhao imperial family couldn't control that area. Thus, the 13 families changed Linhai County to Linhai Province. Each family's territory was called a county, and thus, they were called the 13 Linhai counties. Of course, the 13 counties were only an exaggeration. The entire Linhai province was equivalent to 3 or 4 Qingli counties. The average size of each county wasn't even a third of Qingli County's size. The 13 families were very xenophobic. If outsiders dared to interfere, they would definitely be suppressed. Even the 3 major sects were no exception. The Myriad Spirit sect and the Netherworld sect ruled by the river. The 9 counties north of the river were governed by the Netherworld sect. The 4 counties south of the river were governed by the Myriad Spirit sect. However, the Violet Palace realm cultivators that the 2 sects sent to govern the Linhai province had mysteriously disappeared. The 2 sects wanted to join forces to flatten the Linhai province. However, the reality was harsh. If they attacked with all their strength, the cultivators below the Violet Palace realm wouldn't even be able to pass through the Heaven/Mountain range. If only the cultivators above the Violet Palace realm died and a few Golden Core realm cultivators were lost, they wouldn't even be able to hurt the 13 families. The 2 sects couldn't bear such a price. In the end, they had no choice but to negotiate. The 2 sects requested for the 13 families to submit on the surface and not interfere in the affairs of the Linhai province. As long as they paid regularly, the 2 sects would reward them with more things. In this way, the 2 sects would gain face and the 13 families would gain benefits. The 2 sects were afraid that the 13 families would expand inland, and the 13 families were afraid that the 2 sects would fight to the death. Under the fear of both sides, the agreement was successfully reached. The 13 families of the Linhai province resisted the 2 sects, making the Linhai province a refuge for desperados. It was very suitable for rogue cultivators to go to the Linhai province. If a family wanted to move there, they would have to witness the strength of the 13 families. Thus, the Wang family was very puzzled by Wang Shui's words. Wang Shui saw that everyone was puzzled and explained, although the Linhai province is powerful and rich, it only lacks one thing, ores. Because that place is filled with sand from the mouth of the river. Even the spiritual mountains of the various families are where there are spirit veins. They are all piled up with earth element techniques. There are no mines at all. The terrain of the west side of the Heaven/Mountain range is complicated. There are many small mountain ranges and peaks. There are many small mines without spirit veins. The terrain of the east side is simple. There are a lot of high mountains and very few small mines. Large mines are usually accompanied by spirit veins, but they are all occupied by demonic beasts. No one dares to mine there. Thus, whether it is ores or stones, the Linhai province is extremely lacking. Although the waterway is difficult to travel, it is not impossible. I once heard that there is a special spirit boat that can fly close to the water surface without fear of dangerous shoals. If we can get this spirit boat and find a way to avoid demonic beasts, we can sell the ores produced by the family to the Linhai province and establish a foothold in the Linhai province. Of course, the family's development goal is not the Linhai province. Our necks are not as hard as their knives. There are many islands near the mouth of the 10,000 rivers. We can set up a shop in the Linhai province to sell ores. Using this as a springboard, we can choose a suitable unowned island and gradually move some of our family members there to establish a foundation. Our Wang family mainly uses water element techniques. When we go to the sea, we are like a flood dragon entering the sea. If there is a day when we have a golden core cultivator in the family, our Wang family may be able to become the 14th family in the Linhai province. The elders were very tempted by Wang Shui's words. If they could really establish a foundation in the Linhai province, it would definitely be better than being a grandson of the Netherworld sect. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.